For Monday, October.
Commissioner Avila Vasquez. Here. Commissioner Burbank.
Here.
Commissioner Colwell.
Here.
Commissioner Jody Lee.
Here.
Commissioner McCool. Vice Mayor Bradford. Here. Mayor Avila.
Here. This time we're going to do invocation and pledge to the flag by Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. So we're going to take a moment to have a prayer or invocation, so we can bow our heads and let's pray for peace and for anything else that your heart wishes to pray for. Thank you. I would like to ask Dr. Labasso if he can lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance from Daytona State College.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Oh, you didn't tell.
Okay. This time we're going to move forward with approval of minutes of the regular commission meeting of October 2nd, 2023 as presented.
So moved.
So moved by Vice Mayor Bradford. Second by Commissioner Colwell.
Oh, sorry.
Motion passes 6-0. This time, we're going to move forward with presentations, awards, and reports, and I'm going to invite only Commissioner Avila Vasquez to the floor so she can do the presentation on Red Ribbon Week, please.
You should have had him pin us.
And as she's going down, if I can please invite the young Marines to please come up as well. Let's give these young folks a big round of applause.
So today's presentation is, proclamation is going to the Volusia Young Marines, and they're accompanied by Sarah Sotomayor and staff members. And they're from Port Orange. Whereas the Red Ribbon Campaign was established by Congress in 1988 to encourage a drug-free lifestyle and involvement in drug prevention and reduction efforts. And whereas communities across America have been plagued by the numerous problems associated with illicit drug use and those that traffic in them. And whereas there is hope in winning the war on drugs, and that hope lies in education and drug demand reduction, coupled with the hard work and determination of organizations such as the Young Marines of the Marine Corps League to foster a healthy drug-free lifestyle. And whereas government and community leaders know that citizen support is one of the most effective tools in the effort to reduce the use of illicit drugs in our communities. And whereas the Red Ribbon has been chosen as a symbol commemorating the work of Enrique Kiki Camarena, a Drug Enforcement Administration agent who was murdered in the line of duty and represents the belief that one person can make a difference. And now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city commissioners of Deltona, Florida, do hereby proclaim October 23 through 31, 23 as Red Ribbon Week, and encourage all Americans to wear a red ribbon to show their support for a drug-free environment in Deltona, and urge all citizens to join in this special observance. Executed the 16th day of October 2023. Thank you.
We can get picture for you. We can all be seen in the same picture. Okay. Wherever you want to be. Smile. Smile.
Thank you, Commissioner Avila Vasquez. At this time, I'm going to ask Vice Mayor Bradford to please go to the floor for the proclamation for Florida City Government Week.
Glenn, can you come up? And if we have any other city staff in here that can take their post, because this is for you guys. This isn't for us. A lot of people don't realize, they think that this is the city. We're not the city. This is the city. These are the people that run the city. They are the ones that are answering the phone calls, doing everything, trying to make us look as good as they possibly can, but behind the scenes, without these guys, they're amazing. There's a lot more staff than this, so I just want to tell them personally thank you. So with that said, whereas the city government is the government closest to most citizens and the one with the most direct impact upon its residents, and whereas city government is administered for and by its citizens is dependent upon public commitment to and understanding of its many responsibilities, and whereas the city government officials and employees share the responsibility to pass along their understanding of public service and their benefits. And whereas Florida City Government Week is a very important time to recognize the important role played by city government in our lives. And whereas this week offers an important opportunity to spread the word to all the citizens of Florida that they can shape and influence this branch of government which is closest to the people. And whereas our city wants to also use this week to emphasize that this is our city and that we are proud of it. And whereas Florida City Government Week offers an important opportunity to convey to all the citizens of Florida that they can shape and influence government through their civic involvement and positively impact lives for volunteering. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the City Commission of Deltona, Florida, do hereby proclaim October 16th through the 22nd, 2023 to be Florida City Government Week, executed the 16th day of October 2023, Santiago Junior Mayor. Thank you. What our phone, we're going to take it. Right there. It's right there? Yeah, that way. We also have individuals hiding in the little room back there that couldn't come out, so.
This time, I'm going to ask Hope Resource Center to please come up as well. I'm going to be presenting the Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month proclamation. Just so you guys know, this proclamation is very special to Deltona. We have a family that wasn't able to be here tonight, but they specifically requested this after they lost their child, and that's the Jimenez family. Out of respect for them, I won't go into the details, but they wanted this proclamation to be done in honor of their daughter. So, whereas on October 25th, 1988, President Ronald Reagan designated October as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, and the Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Movement began. And whereas each year approximately 1 million pregnancies in the United States end in miscarriage, stillbirth, the death of a newborn baby, or sudden infant death syndrome, approximately in every 4 women suffers a miscarriage, stillbirth, or infant loss. And whereas the loss of a child is an inconceivable tragedy and a traumatic event that brings a family pain, suffering, and whereas the observance of Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month generates awareness and increases the likelihood that grieving families will receive understanding and support, and whereas throughout this month, citizens are encouraged to raise more awareness of the prevalence of pregnancy loss and infant loss, and to recognize those bereaved mothers, fathers, and families who mourn the loss of their infant. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and City Commission of Deltona, Florida, do hereby proclaim October 2023 to be Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, executed the 16th day of October 2023. This time, we're going to move to presentation, The Next Big Thing by Daytona State College, the Deltona campus, by Dr. Labazo.
Thank you, Mayor Avila, Vice Mayor Bradford, Commissioners. It's always a pleasure to present to this body the progress of Daytona State, particularly here in Deltona, right across the street. So I'm here to just give a brief update on where we are with our second building here on campus. And does this remote work for the presentation, or?
Yeah, it works.
Okay.
Somebody from the PIO staff, please come out to. Thank you.
I think I see it there.
Which one is your presentation?
I think that is it there.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that wasn't even plugged in. Okay. Let's try that. There you go.
Okay, great, thank you. Alrighty, to recap again, this building is going to house our full nursing program, which has expanded our program in this area by 120 seats. It's also going to house our diagnostic medical sonography program, which will have a capacity of 48 students per year, and then also our CNC machining program, which will be 40 students a year. And as you can see, here's the layout of the new building, which runs parallel to Fafi Hall. And that's an aerial view. And what you'll see, it's hard to tell, but in between the two buildings is going to be a nice common space for student gathering and things of that nature in the middle of the two buildings. Here's the exterior view. And this is the first floor, a little hard to see, but it will, oh, you can see a little, okay. So this area here is going to house our CNC machining program. And then over here will be nursing stations. You can kind of see the different beds that are going to be set up for simulation. Then a general classroom and another nursing station. And then on this location, no, I'm sorry, no, this is a lounge. This is the, it's a little hard for me to see it from here. This one here is the, I think this might be the bookstore and, yeah, bookstore. And also it's going to have some grab and go food as well as coffee. So city staff, if you would like to come on over across the street, you're welcome to come. And then, on this bottom corner here is the student lounge. So the concept is they can come in here, get some coffee, some food, and sit in the lounge, study, eat, and hang out in between classes. Second floor is going to house the medical lab will be here, nursing stations here, and then these are classrooms to support. And then science labs here. And then there's another science lab here as well. And that's going to be, yep, and that's going to have the ability, so students, not only for nursing, but for the AA program, you'll be able to get all of your sciences right here in Deltona, where now sometimes students have to bop to the DeLand campus to get them. This is going to have a full biology lab as well as a chemistry lab here. So students will have everything right here in Deltona. And then also you're going to have on the second floor will be the sonography on the top right lab, and then the supporting classroom. Here's a view of the south side of the building. On the first floor, as I mentioned, the student lounge area, and second floor is the sonography classroom. What's that mean?
Sonography?
It's diagnostic sonography. Typically when a pregnant woman would come in for a checkup, and they get that ultrasound sonography, that's what it would be. Yep. That came to be by conversations with the local hospitals and what they had see a demand and a need for, with an addition to the nursing, obviously. The north side of the building, and this is like where the middle is going to be between Fothey Hall and the new building. A little hard to tell, but it's going to be a very nice area for sitting and lounging in between classes. That's the south side of the building, which is across the street facing the side. And that's a sample of what the finished wall it looks like. It was just a sample that they provided us. And that's it in a nutshell. Again, it's on schedule to be completed March of 2024. So we're excited about that. I think the building is going to serve a great need for the community as well as the local hospitals that serve this community. So, any questions?
Vice Mayor Bradford, and then Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
I just want to say thank you. It is so exciting. It's funny, I just have to throw this out there. My granddaughter was looking over my shoulder when I was reading the agenda, and she says, "Isn't that the school next to your work?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's Daytona State." She's like, "Are they going to have rooms?" No. "Are they going to have food?" And I'm like, "Really? That's what you're asking me?" Guys, because I guess when I drag her here, she wanted to see if she could escape over to you guys to get a snack.
There you go. So that's what do it.
We have a lot of talented children in Deltona and individuals. And when you talk to them, you're right. This was so needed, the Pine Ridge Academy, Deltona's high school program, these kids are leaving, and I don't think many people realize it. Young ones out there listen to this. Leaving high school with an associate's degree. I wish I had that opportunity when I was their age. So what you are providing, it's not just the education. I mean, it's the cost savings to the family and at the cost of that. And you guys have done an outstanding job with, providing this to the community. And Mr. Boss, I just want to tell you thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we've graduated over 200 high school students, received their associate degree, and walked across our stage weeks before they walked across the high school stage for their diploma. So it's tremendous savings. So definitely the community that's here today has passed the word. It's a great way for a family to get a college education for free.
And I
It's
don't think,
completely
what's an
covered.
associate's cost them? Not to interrupt, so just so parents can get an idea of what pushing our high school kids to take these courses, they leave there, like you're saying, it's a free education center in high school. What's, in dollar amounts, what's a cost savings on that associate's?
For us, it's about $6,000. But if you went to a university, that's about $20,000.
So about $6,000 to $20,000, free education.
Yeah.
Okay, so I encourage you all, dual enroll, push the kids dual enroll. We have an amazing group of educated individuals in our city. Thank you.
Welcome. And I forgot to mention, also what's happening here is on the one side of Fothey Hall that the nursing program was in, has the big garage door on the side, high ceilings. We are in the process of converting that into a welding lab. So that's going to have welding here. So truly a location that could accommodate all students with all interests. And that welding program, in 2 semesters, those students are getting jobs for $50,000, $60,000 a year, and they can pick where they want to go. So we were bringing welding to Deltona as well. I forgot to mention that.
Thank you. Commissioner Villa-Vasquez, and then Commissioner Burbank.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to ask about the welding, and I'm so glad that they didn't remove that bus stop here in front of City Hall, because I know there were comments about, shutting it down because there was not enough traffic, but I'm glad that they didn't. And about dual enrollment for those youngins out in the audience, it does work. My grandson is 18. He graduated from Daytona State in Flagler. I told you about him.
Yep.
And he is going to be 19 next year, and he's already going for his bachelor's. And thank you.
Yeah.
It's really worth it. It's really worth it, that dual enrollment program. Thank you so much for coming over and doing the presentation. Keep us updating, and we look forward to the ribbon cutting.
Thank you. Yes, we'll keep you posted, and obviously the entire community as well, are all invited to be at that event.
Thank you, Commissioner Burbank.
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Dr. Blasio.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you for the presentation. Okay, at this time, we're going to move over to ordinances and public hearings. So, public hearing ordinance number 10-2023, amending section 110-806, fences, walls, and hedges of Article 8, supplementary regulations of Chapter 110 zoning of the Land Development Code. Jessica.
All right, Jessica Entwistle, Planning Development Services for the record. Ordinance number 10-2023 would amend section 110-806 fences, wall, and hedges of the Land Development Code. In May, the Commission had a workshop regarding possible revisions to the section. Staff took these recommendations regarding waterfront properties, golf course lots, regarding opacity requirements. Additional provisions regarding 8-foot fences has also been added. The only change from the last hearing was to add a timeline regarding the requirement of signed and sealed surveys. Staff contacted DeBerry, Orange City, and Volusia County regarding the regulations, and staff recommends following the Volusia County regulations with no more than 5-year survey requirement. Therefore, staff recommends the City Commission approve Ordinance 10-2023, amending Section 110-806 fences, wall, and hedges of the Land Development Code.
Vice Mayor Bradford.
So when I put construction hat on, under item B, you have on there that the county is recommending they require sign and sealed. When I think of sign and sealed, that doesn't mean certified. That means it's a signed and sealed in a sealed envelope. That is not what they require. I do permits for them quite frequently. Can we please have that as a certified? So, and I say this because even our building department, when we say sign and sealed to them, that means you guys are receiving a signed sealed engineering drawing that's never been opened. So it would require a homeowner that has a 2-year-old, 3-year-old copy of their survey that has the certificate on it to then reach back over to them. And these companies are charging for a recert or reseal about $150. So that's why I'm requesting that we make sure that it's assigned and certified. I don't necessarily think you guys meant like sealed, closed, but I just don't want it to be taken literally, because like you guys are great, but if somebody else comes in, they're going to interpret it as, oh, nope, you got to take this back and present it. So it's more of just the verbiage on that, if you guys can just correct that under B.
Okay, can do.
Thank you.
Commissioner Colwell?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
We're waiting for public comments, or?
Yeah, go ahead and your mic is off. You can make the motion and then I'll call for public before we vote.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 10-223 with the removal of the section where it pertains to waterfront golf course side and rear yard requirements.
Second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Colwell, second by Commissioner Burbank. Commissioner Jody Lee, you were on the board? Okay. Commissioner Burbank?
I second.
Can we, Vice Mayor?
Are you adding the change for the signed and sealed document? Because if not, that means they got to go back and have a sealed copy by an architect, or they're certified by their person who did. So you have to authorize.
You just want to amend it.
You want to amend it, and then he has to authorize it.
Go ahead and amend it, Commissioner Colwell.
With the amendment to the signed and sealed documents?
So just give your motion again and add that you would like to
I would like to
amend it.
motion to approve section, or ordinance 10-2023 with the removal of the section that pertains to waterfront golf course, side and rear yard requirements, and with the amendment to the signed and sealed documents.
There's a motion by Commissioner Colwell
I still second, yes.
and a second by Commissioner Burbank. Can we please go to public forum? There's no public forum?
There's no public comments, Mayor.
Okay.
Can
Do you want, Vice Mayor Bradford?
I just want clarification on that. I'm trying to look up what his amendment reads before I vote on anything. The section you're wanting to remove, Mr. Colwell, is,
The section that pertains to the backyard waterfront.
You know what section that is? G.
It says G on one section and the
That whole section has been struck through.
okay, so that's already, okay, so the new section, so G struck through, so where it says fences, hedges on vacant lots?
Yes, that's the section he's talking about, section G.
So
The
you
new,
just-
the new G, the old H. Correct?
Section G pertains to waterfront and golf course lot. It says G on my book here.
Okay, that's already stricken out, right? Okay, that's why I was a little confused. I wasn't sure if there was something else, so that's already being removed. You're saying to leave it?
Deleted that, yes. I want to keep that in the ordinance.
You want to keep
I
it?
want to keep that in the ordinance.
Okay.
All right, before we vote, can I just get a clarification on that? Because
That's why we changed it.
yeah, that was the reason why we brought this up for a change, was because people that had waterfront property at some point wanted to put up hedges or even a fence. And because of it obstructing other neighbors, they weren't able to do it. So is that what you're wanting to, you want them to not be allowed to put up a fence or a hedge?
That's correct. That is correct.
All right. So we can go ahead and, you want to say something, Jessica?
So one of the changes for that was one of the main issues we were having with residents is our code requires, if you're on a lakefront, that all of your fence be the same height. So are we wanting to make it all the same height again?
As far as the 4 to 6 foot, it doesn't matter as long as it's opaque. I mean, the whole idea of buying on a lakefront property is to be able to see the lake.
Okay.
So it has no matter to me whether it's 4 or 6 foot, as long as it's opaque.
All right, let's go ahead and let's vote.
Yeah, forgive me, I've lost track of what we're voting on here. I thought the intent of the ordinance all along was to allow people with lakefront properties to have some privacy in their backyards. And are you saying you prefer to remain at the 4-foot height that is currently in place?
4 to 6 as long as it's opaque. I don't care the height, but
Okay, because it has been limited to 4. So you're okay with the 6?
that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
But clear.
But clear.
So you want
Well,
to,
there is an opacity standard written into the ordinance. If I'm not mistaken, anything over a certain height has to be like 30% opaque.
but I don't think that's what they're saying. I think what they're saying is that whole section, the reason we're having the vote, we're leaving that in. So if you push on there, on your thing, the whole section G, which is the reason we were changing this, we're not changing it at all. We're leaving it in. So the ordinance will read on golf courses and lakefront exactly the way it was, if that's what I'm understanding.
4 feet.
So hold on, guys. If we're going to get this done, then technically this is going to have to go back to staff, because then we would have 2 Gs in place, or we'd have a G and an H. So this is going to have to go back to staff if it passes.
Mr. Mayor, since we can no longer continue to a date certain, and you want to make the change, you can make the changes, and then we'll have to re-advertise the next date. So we can't continue it to a date at this point.
Okay, Marcia, go ahead and read the ordinance, and then we're going to go ahead and take a vote.
Now, is she going to read with the changes?
She's going to read it exactly how.
I read the title. I mean, all I'm doing is reading the title. Ordinance number 10-2023, an ordinance of the City of Deltona, Florida, amending Section 110-806, fences, walls, and hedges of Article 8, supplementary regulations of Chapter 110 zoning of the Land Development Code of the City of Deltona, providing for conflicts, codification, severability, and an effective date. But what makes this, because of the change in Florida statute, normally we just continue to a date certain, but we can't do that. So now you all can make your changes, staff will make the changes, and then we'll advertise as soon as possible date. It'll be advertised for the second hearing. Okay?
Vice Mayor, you're on the board again.
I just want clarification, because I just want to make sure, because we have in here, we're removing G, but you're not removing G, and you're going to add, so that's why I think Commissioner Jody Lee was saying if we can read it again, because in G right now, it is at 4 feet in height. So was his motion to make it 4 to 6 feet? And you see what I'm saying, Commissioner Colwell? Yes. So right now, right, but the current one is 4 foot. So if we just leave it, it's going to stay in there as 4 foot. Huh?
It's 4 to 6.
I think
Okay.
I don't think he's talking about golf courses either. It's just lakefront. He don't care. He said he didn't care how high the fence was. He just wants it opaque. So if he wants 6 foot, he's fine with that too. Just he wants to have the clear view still
Of the lake.
for lakefront property only, nothing else. So everything else can stay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if we
I know
look
it's
at
confusing.
that, if we look at what we're putting back in, that whole thing says walls and hedges on waterfront or golf course lot, fences, walls, and hedges constructed along the rear side property line, lot line on a waterfront or golf course lot shall be uniform height and opacity along the property perimeter. Fences, walls, and hedges shall not exceed 6 feet in height. If it has less than 25% opacity, and shall not exceed 4 foot in height if it has 25% or greater opacity as measured from above natural grade. That's what you want? Okay.
And that's what we'll put in.
All right.
Whose phone is it?
Did somebody leave their phone up front?
They're probably calling it to find it.
Commissioner Jody Lee, we're waiting. The motion passes 4-2. Yes, I believe that was. All right, we're going to go ahead and move forward
I'm innocent.
to public hearing, resolution number 2023-47, a resolution accepting the final plat for Osprey Estates Phase 1 for a 169-lot, single-family subdivision on 55.6 acres. Planning and Development Services, Jessica?
Can I get the PowerPoint on the screen? Thank you. All right, Jessica Entwistle, Planning Development Services for the record. Application SD 23-005 is for Osprey Estates Phase 1 Final Plat application. The final plat application is consistent with Florida Statutes Chapter 177 and the Land Development Code. This meeting is to request the acceptance of the final plat and performance bond for Phase 1 for 169 single-family homes. This plot is located at 555 Doyle Road with approximately 55.6 acres. It's important to note the Downey RPUD was approved by ordinance number 12-2019 to allow up to 225 single-family lots. There will be a Phase 2 for Osprey Estates for a total of 220 single-family lots. The preliminary plat was approved on March 18th, 2022, which allows for horizontal construction of the plat. This includes roads and infrastructure. I have also attached in the agenda the Volusia County School Board concurrency application to show that there will be 47 students reserved for Phase 1. This is a picture of the master development plan approved with the RPD in 2019. This depicts the lot sizes and amenities being being provided for the subdivision. And this one, I know it's really hard to see, but this is Phase 1 of the plot. This depicts the roads already being built and the lot layout. This is the current state of the property. The applicant has pulled the permit to start the 6-foot wall on the east side of the property. The applicant submitted the performance bond of over $1.6 million in September. On September 21st, the DRC unanimously recommended the City Commission accept final plat. Therefore, staff recommends the City Commission approve Resolution 2023-47, accepting the final plat for Osprey Estates Phase 1 for 169 single-family homes.
Thank you, Jessica. Vice Mayor Bradford.
I hereby move to accept resolution number 2023-47, accepting the final plat for Osprey Estate Phase 1 of the Downey Residential Planned Unit Development located at 555 Doyle Road with the following condition. The final plat development order shall be recorded into the public records concurrently with the performance bond and final plat Mylar. This recording shall be executed within 20 working days of the effective date of resolution number 2023-47.
Second.
There is a motion by Vice Mayor Bradford, a second by Commissioner Avila Vasquez. Do we have any public records or public comments?
There are no public comments.
No public comments?
Yes, there is.
Never mind. Rose, go Tia, please.
Hi, my name is Rose Goitia, and I live in the new Cortland Park development. I'm at 1216 August Sky Drive. We have a few concerns regarding this new development. We're more concerned about the traffic that's going to happen, because right now we already have traffic issues in the development with other surrounding areas which are using our development as a shortcut. So we're concerned they have an opening right through our development about the traffic conditions that's going to develop. We have a lot of children in that development, and we've had lots of problems with people speeding through our development to take it as a shortcut. So I don't know how much that's going to impact us, but we're very concerned about the traffic issues and the homes that line up with that development. So does anybody have any answers regarding traffic or any idea of how that's going to impact us?
Sorry? You live on Cortland Park?
In the new development, Cortland Park. And we also have issues of our detention bases overflowing, and we're concerned they have a huge one that's also close to ours. And we're concerned that that's going to give us even more overflow. I've written to you, Mayor Avila, about that, because we really have an issue in Cortland Park in terms of our detention bases. We don't think that they were properly done, which is what's causing the over drainage. There's no drainage practically. Right now, our mailboxes are constantly flooded, and the small little park that D.R. Horton built is constantly full of water, and our children cannot use it. So we have a huge issue there, and we're concerned that that development is going to go into our development as well and create even more issues that we have.
Phyllis, would you like to address? Phyllis or Jessica? We're going to do all the public comments, and we'll get to your question.
Okay, thank you.
I think we have one more. Doesn't say which one to talk about. Oh, it's the same thing.
David Sosa, please.
So we have one more or two more? Three? Okay, perfect.
David Sosa. Yeah, this property here, is it developed by D.R. Horton? Because from what I understand, there's several issues in there talking to residents that they're not fulfilling their obligations with the HOA as far as some of the flooding. I think it was already mentioned. One of the retention ponds closest to the playground floods. Also, I've noticed that that road, on that side of the road, has been, elevated, and therefore all the properties on the north side of Doyle are starting to flood. You have Osteen Elementary. They just came in and did a patch job. They probably added about 2 feet worth of elevation on the sidewalk just so the kids could get across. The retention pond at Osteen Elementary is at capacity. There's a small lake that used to be almost empty. It was probably a hole about 30, 40 feet deep. We're talking a big hole. It's full. So my question is, where's the water going to go? We have a water issue right now. Just on Cortland, right up the street from my house, there's about 100-acre woods. That water is now encroaching on the houses. It's actually surrounded one house right on Cortland, right across from the middle school. It's up to their walls, and it's seeping around the side of it. I think what we have to do before we approve any more development is figure out where the water's going to go. Now, we had a chance with a moratorium to come up with a plan, and we blew it. I was part of it. We blew it. Kept asking for it. When are we going to do this? When are we going to do this? It got kicked down the road for food trucks and chickens. Okay? So I think we really need to address that. DeBerry itself just put in a moratorium about 2 weeks ago. I was at their meeting, and they put a moratorium for 9 months to redo their planning on how they plan on building out the rest of their community. Just curious, where do we stand on our new land use code? Have we done anything with it this year? And if we have, I'd like to see what we have working on it so far. Thank you.
Adam Vasquez, please.
Good evening. Adam Vasquez, District 3. I echo some of the concerns that others have brought up here. I'll start off with the traffic on Doyle Road. We did build a subdivision, Cortland Park. When that subdivision was put in, we reduced the speed limit on Doyle from 45 to 40. The road is at capacity. Now it has to be expanded. I understand that the county will start studying that in about 10 years. I'm not sure if we'll collect any impact fees from this developer for these homes. D.R. Horton, I have some concerns. We were at another HOA, like Mr. Sosa brought up, like Daytona Estates, I believe, was built by D.R. Horton, and there's water as well at that subdivision all around a bunch of homes streaming out onto the sidewalk and into the street. Also, before you guys vote on this, I mean, I know you know that the water from the top of the city kind of percolates downwards towards Lake Monroe. So with Doyle and all the property down at the south end of the city, it's very low lying. I've sent you all an email of some ideas on how we need to figure out a way to move that water. You can't just dump it all into the St. Johns River all at once because it'll flood out subdivisions. So, you know, DeBerry has their borough pit. What are we gonna do for the stormwater before? I mean, you know, putting more homes in is going to push the water down into this Cortland Park to the south, and then there's lakes behind that subdivision off of the bike path, and eventually it goes down to the St. Johns River. So, you know, I think you guys should really consider maybe taking a pause on developing in our lowest lying areas of the city until we can figure out where we're going to move the water that's flowing southward from upstream that we don't have a solution for yet, and no one seems to be working. We're doing another study, so we're not implementing any fixes. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Kara Van Dyke, please.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, County Commissioners. We thank you for your time, for hearing our concerns at this present moment. I want to also piggyback on what everybody's saying. We currently live on 150 Bull Run Avenue. That's to the south side of the neighborhoods, and flooding was awful this year. Our properties got flooded with the new subdivisions coming in. Wildlife has been displaced. The traffic in the mornings to go to the educational school of Osteen Elementary is horrendous, trying to get in and out. It's absolutely awful with the amount of cars that are there. Biggest concerns and complaints that we have is the flooding in the areas, so hopefully that something can get addressed, whereas the houses that have been back there for a significant time can see a little bit of relief, especially with the hurricane season coming up in Florida. So thank you for your time and hearing our complaints. We hope that you take them into consideration.
Isaac Torrance, please.
Good evening, folks. My name is Isaac Torres. I believe I spoke to you, Mayor, when you first got elected. We had side conversations throughout the parks and everything else, and I brought certain things to your attention, but that was pushed aside by some other members of the commission. So I'm the vice president of the Cortland Park Association. There's been multiple issues. Even the builder has said, with the inspectors coming in and checking out the dry ponds and ponds, how they were filled with garbage and stuff like that. So there's no room for any of this to go through, but yet it was still passed. We had gotten 4 times, I believe, pumps to pump out a lot of this water that comes out. My daughter does go, my son goes to Osteen Elementary, so I see the flooding constantly. And it seems like when there is a flooding, it backfills over across the street, other areas. I think that when it comes to building portions, because I work for a general contractor, that the engineering portion needs to be vetted as much as possible to make sure there's no backflows and going into people's homes. I have a dry pond on a few other houses. It hasn't even gone down because it seems like some of the piping is covered. So even there's water from Ian of last year that's still there. So, we're pushing agendas for money here and there, but at the same time, the residents who pay their taxes deserve an answer going forward. And then you guys here are responsible enough to actually answer instead of having a smirk face sometimes when you see somebody in the street or when they ask you something. A lot of these folks here, they're either living on their Social Security check or their pension, and some of these people moved up here for a better quality of life, but yet the expense is so high. And as you can see, like this plat that you guys are getting is like $1 million and change. What else money is coming in that's not being given out to, helping the residents around the surrounding areas? Like last year when we had the hurricane, Elkham was all closed down. You know what I mean? So you have people in Stone Island, just the surrounding areas. Unfortunately, some of these folks don't have insurance, so they look at their community and their leaders for answers. So hopefully you guys take into consideration of what to do, or put yourselves in our shoes, because one day you're going to be in that. You might not be up there the next election, but you're going to feel the same pain when you have a flood in your house, or your neighbor, or someone you care about around the corner. I'm just new up here. I come from a bigger city, and what I've seen up here is constantly ridiculous, plus especially the millage rate from coming from South Florida, where everything down there is expensive. To come up here to have a different quality of life, to just still live paycheck to paycheck, and to see how we treat our citizens here is disgusting. So I'm asking, please look into where you guys can figure out to budget correctly, or look at your process of passing any permits. Because one false move can cause multiple individuals to have floods around their house, or kids can't go to school. And, instead of us posting pictures constantly on Facebook or Instagram of what we're doing in the community, let's do something else within the community instead of fixing the park all the time, but yet the roads look like crap sometimes because of floods. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Richard Bellick, please.
Well, it's surprising that it even goes this far. Deltona needs 169 more houses in a flooded area where you're getting reports of floods. People have water in their house. How could you even contemplate something like this? Come on, this gets more ridiculous as time goes by. You need 169 more houses in an area where they can't get rid of the water now. They're surrounded by water. It's blocking kids from going to school, and you sit there and you even entertain this? Why don't you send somebody out there, look at the area, come back, tell you, no, you can't build there, you shouldn't build there. Use some common sense. Send these people home happy for once.
That ends public comment.
Commissioner Jody Lee, and then Vice Mayor Bradford. Commissioner Jody Lee.
Couldn't hear none. On this whole Osprey, I agree with all of them. If anybody's from this area, that's my neighborhood. Of course, I didn't vote for this project. I didn't vote for no offense, people living in Cortland Park. I wouldn't have voted for that one either. That's wood areas. That's not why we now have wild, deer and coyotes running down Cortland Boulevard. You keep taking away their place, and all of a sudden wild animals are in your yard, and it's the animals' fault. It's not yours for cutting all the trees down. But it does flood through there. There's many issues. I've had old residents have been here for years traffic and trucks were cutting through the Cortland Park onto the side streets, cutting through there, and I believe they just put up a stop sign through there. But now this new development is going to cut into the other new development to go through the traffic of all the people that have been living there for years. We just keep on building and building, and I know this commission, or some people on this commission, have never said no to more developments, have never said no to more taxes. It's time we just start telling people no. I'm not trying to, I get it. People got to live somewhere. They always say if you build it, they'll come. How about we just take a break and they go somewhere else? I'm sorry, but that's just my opinion.
Vice Mayor Bradford and then Commissioner Burbank.
Mayor, if it's okay now, I would like to have Phyllis address some of these issues. So this development is not a new development. Just to clarify, that was approved. This development was approved back in 2019. Although some of these issues that they're bringing up does bring concern. I know you guys generally do a check on the property prior to, so I don't know. One issue I do have is, do they already have access and what traffic is going through their development? That obviously is concerning for any development to have extra traffic going through. The retention overflow, the mailbox is flooded, the park flooded. These are obviously serious issues. Is it due to poor drainage or is it due to high water tables? Can you help us out with this?
I'm going to break this up into two separate components. We have Osprey Estates, which is before you today.
Can you pull the mic down a little bit? Sorry.
Osprey Estates, which is before you this evening, but then we have issues that were brought up regarding Cortland Park. We are aware in Cortland Park around their playground area and their common area for their mailbox that they are having some flooding problems over there. The engineer of record has submitted to our city engineer, Ton Wynn, a plan for resolution for that. Ton has looked that over, and I believe they are working out some final details to implement that to mitigate those problems. I did hear, I believe it was, I didn't get Isaac's last name, so I apologize, that some of the ponds are dry or not functioning correctly. We still have a maintenance bond on Cortland Park, so we will look into that to see if there's anything that is failing out there, and we will pull down on that bond if necessary, if we cannot get D.R. Horton to come to the table and make any corrections that we find are appropriate or needed out there. Commissioner Jody Lee was correct. There's a connection on Stanton that goes through. We did put a three-way stop. The developer put up a performance bond, an escrow account to do a traffic study, and they paid for that, and that was the end result coming out of that. We do encourage cross-access easements, because on all of our developments, we have to have another means of ingress and egress. If there were to be only one entrance off of Doyle Road for either one of these developments, we would have residents who would be trapped, or alternatively, we would have fire rescue and emergency services who could not get in if that front entrance was closed off. So we do encourage that. So Osprey Estates does have a connection from the east to the west, and then that can carry over to Stanton, which takes you to Cortland as well. We can certainly look into additional traffic calming issues once the Osprey Estates is open and we see the amount of traffic that may be traversing back and forth versus going out to Doyle Road.
While you're looking, how long is that maintenance bond or performance bond? How long is that good for?
The maintenance bond for Cortland Park is good for a year. So we've got plenty of time on that because we just accepted everything recently with Cortland Park. But we can go back to D.R. Horton and talk to them about some of the concerns that I've taken notes on for Cortland Park. For Osprey Estates, the bond that was posted is for performance. They have not finished with all their infrastructure, and in order to get the plat recorded so that they can start looking at pulling permits for single-family homes, they have to bond the balance of that. And until that is accepted by the city of Deltona, that bond will stay in place, and then once we've accepted the infrastructure, it's to our satisfaction, that will be replaced with a maintenance bond, which is typically for a minimum of 1 year. We can extend that if we find any problems during construction that we have concerns with.
I believe their performance bond, and I'm trying to look at, was that 1.2 million?
The performance bond for Osprey?
Osprey, wasn't it like 1.2? 1.6 million?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can hold that 1.6 million that they put in on the bond until the projects are over, and then if they continue to see concerns, you can pull on that performance bond to make sure that these things are rectified. And the same thing with Cortland.
Correct.
Okay.
And just for clarifications, Cortland Park was a D.R. Horton development, and Osprey Estates is an LGI development. That'll be the builder out there.
Okay.
And I do know, pardon me, I do know there was some off-site flooding during Hurricane Ian and Nicole, and some not acceptable practices by the developer out there for Osprey Estates that was adversely impacting some of our residents, and I've heard from several of them. They have my name, they have my number, and anytime something happens, we are on it immediately, short of going out and basically pulling their permit and doing a stop work order, but we do address that, and they have been told that they need to cease and desist with that inappropriate activity, which is pumping water.
Thank you, Phyllis.
Those roads over there, are they county roads? Are those considered county road?
In the subdivision?
No.
Oh,
Is that area county?
Doyle Road is a county
County.
road. The other roads are city.
Okay. So do we know, is there any plan on the 4162 Doyle of any county?
10 years.
10 years. Woo-hoo. Okay.
I've asked.
Okay.
And that's just to do a study.
Okay.
Commissioner Jody Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. One thing with this, even this project, I know it's into a part, it's already been agreed to, or said, approved, and if we don't approve it, they're going to come back and sue us. I mean, they've already got all the infrastructure in. My issue is even before this. I think all this should have been talked about prior, because if everybody knows, like Mr. David Sosa was right, there's a house on Cortland, we've only been getting rain. It's only a couple of houses down from his. The water's already up to the backyard of the people's house, and we've had rain. Granted, we have a lot of rain, but you can keep doing all this and putting a retention pond here, once you keep taking away all the natural places for the water to dissipate in the land, we're going to keep getting more problems. So yes, you can put in a retention pond here, a retention pond here. We're not saving the planet, we're paving the planet. We're putting more houses, more compacted dirt, building more houses. The water is running out of places to go. It's just common sense. I'm not trying to pick on any particular person, but we just prove every development over and over and over. And the land, there's flooding going on by my house, by David's house, that's never flooded before except for a major hurricane. The water right now is up to their back door. Right now, on Cortland Boulevard. I'm glad I live on a hill. But we just keep on saying yes to all these developments all the time and letting everybody do whatever they want to do. It's just, when is enough?
So, Phyllis, I do have what was your response when we brought up the whole illegal dumping to them? What was your excuse?
I didn't personally go out there. I sent our engineering team out there. I'm not sure that they had any viable excuse. So we do keep on top of them now. Staff gets out there at least once a day, but people are driving by, myself and other people, and if we see anything that looks out of the ordinary, we're on the phone.
The reason I asked that is because when I was reading through the agenda, I remembered that conversation of what was going on with them, and they would have kept doing it unless if they would have not got caught, they would have continued doing it. So my issue is, how can I trust a developer to do the right thing if they're beforehand already doing something they're not supposed to? You know what I mean? And I'm not going to get into the particulars, but we're going to go ahead. Let's go ahead and pull up a vote, please. Thank you, Phyllis.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
There's already a motion and there's a second, so we're voting. Commissioner
Here we
Burbank.
go.
It's a tie, 3-3. So it failed.
So the motion fails. Could we get on the screen?
That would be the PIO department in the back, please.
No, what happens?
Can't put the vote back.
Okay, could you read the vote? Just for full transparency, not for anything else.
What, everybody voted, or just that
Yes.
it's a 3-3 tie? Okay. So in favor of it was Commissioner Avila Vasquez, Commissioner Burbank, Vice Mayor Bradford, and not in favor was Mayor Avila, Commissioner Caldwell, and Commissioner Jody Lee.
Okay, so the motion fails because it's tied. And I think the Vice Mayor has a question.
Now what happens? It's a final plat.
So,
Guys, this isn't a, hey, we want to approve this. This is already approved. So can we have staff please go back and possibly come back to us with maybe some of their concerns to see what and how they're going to address the concerns of flooding? Well, actually, the retentions, the mailboxes, that's a whole nother subdivision. That's not even Osprey. Can we address some of these items that is in relation to Osprey and see if they have some solutions prior to, because obviously this is a final plat.
So furthermore, to expound on Vice Mayor Bradford, can we also get our city attorney to give us some legal advice of what happens next?
Is he from Osprey?
Hold on, Commissioner.
Sorry.
Go ahead, city attorney.
Mr. Mayor, is there someone that you need to hear?
We're going to go to you first.
Okay. Well, basically, as everybody's basically said, this project's already been approved. There are vested rights involved. So the only thing we can do is try and meet with the developer and talk about some of these issues and see what they are willing to offer in order to fix some of these issues and get in a dialogue that we can then bring back to the commission, because we are dealing with portions or part of it, I don't know, I'd have to look and see, but some of it is vested. And that's why a final plat is nothing more than a perfunctory act of filing a piece of paper that says this is what has happened. So the question of how we unwind any of this and where we go with it is not going to be an immediate answer.
And you know what? And I think it's okay, right? I get that this was approved by a different commission, and that has nothing to do with it. The fact that we are flooding, and we have a lot of flooding issues, the fact that we've caught the group doing stuff that they were not supposed to be doing, it raises red flags, at least in my book, right? This is okay. This is part of the process. Now we get to go back with the developer and say, hey, there's a reason why we didn't approve that final plat, and that includes some of the practices you guys were doing that you were not supposed to be doing. So we can always play the tick for tack any day of the week, but I want to make sure the current residents I have are protected. That's what I care about. So Commissioner Jody Lee, you were going to say something? And then I do have, well, you're on the board.
If the motion failed for final plat, they can't come back to us the same way.
No.
Because this is the final, so they have to make the changes.
Legal?
To make us somewhat happy, because it's the final plat, we automatically.
No.
You didn't approve it, so that means at this point they can't record, or we can't, or we're not recording their final plat. Now, what does all of that mean?
They're going to have to make our changes that we're concerned with.
I can't answer that until we look at all of the pieces of it and also talk with them about what they're willing to do, because there is still there what you all decide to do and deny it. there still is their vested rights that have to be dealt with. So it's not a just, oh, we're done and goodbye.
I understand.
It's
That's
far
not what I
more,
meant.
okay, no, it is relatively complex, and I just can't give you an answer tonight. We'll have to figure out what we can come back with, and I can't answer that right now.
All right.
But when can we get some type of idea? Marcia?
Well, I'll set up a meeting as quickly as I can. I assume Phyllis knows these representatives that we need to meet with, and we'll sit down and talk to them and find out exactly, what we're really dealing with here. But like right now, I can't tell you that.
Thank you. That's a Marcia question.
Being that the developer's here, I know during our quasi-judicials, we're required to allow them to speak. Since we've already stopped public comment, is it a requirement for us to allow him the opportunity to speak?
Well, we're not in a quasi-judicial at this point, but by the same token, if he's here, I would suggest you let him speak and say whatever he has to say that may be of interest for the folks that are here and for all of you.
Sure. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Ed Kasich. I am the land development manager for LGI Homes. I have been over this project since we first started the project. And as the city attorney has stated, this is a final plat. We've met all the city's requirements for Chapter 177. Planning and Zoning has already recommended approval of this plat. To address the homeowners of Cortland Park, they are to the west of our project. I'm sorry, you're not in the Horton community? Yes.
Just address us.
Just address you, okay. So the issues that are going on in the community that abuts us, that project did have a lot of flooding issues. They sit above us. Our project is lower than they are. So anything that we're doing on our project does not affect that project. Yes, we do have a connection through their project, and that was required by the Planning and Zoning Board of the City of Deltona. So we have met and done everything. As far as off-site pumping, I'm not aware of that. Could I please get some information on that? Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Phyllis, did you want to add something else, or we're going to move? If not, we're going to move on.
And I wanted to ask something also.
Go ahead, Phyllis, and then we'll go to Marcia.
If I might, I would suggest that as soon as I get some time, I'm going to go back and listen to everything that transpired tonight specific to Osprey, put together a list of the concerns that have been expressed, look back at the plans, get with the city attorney, planning staff, the applicant, and see if there are things that right now that they can modify to quell some of those concerns, to address some of the issues. And in all fairness to LGI Homes, they were not the ones that were out there pumping, but they are the underlying property owner, and their land developer is the company that was doing that.
Thank you. Marcia?
And Mr. I would ask if the commissioner, if there are folks in the audience that you may want to designate or ask, or so as Phyllis and I are working on this, we could contact some people in the community and ask some questions about what we're hearing or what we're being told, or they can tell us, so there's an ability to get some communication as we're trying to find out, what our options are.
So if those residents can just leave their name and numbers, if they're willing to, with the city clerk, we would really appreciate it. So thank you. We're going to go ahead and move forward. Public hearing resolution number 2023-50, granting a conditional use to allow a private school to operate at an existing church building for a property located at 600 Fort Smith Boulevard within an R1 single-family zoning district.
Good evening, Jonathan Knight for the record. If I could have assistance with putting my slideshow on the screen, please. Thank you. As stated for the record, my name is Jonathan Knight. Tonight I am presenting a conditional use request.
The site is located at 600 Fort Smith Boulevard on a roughly 4-acre parcel and located in the R1 residential zoning district. For further background, this is a depiction of the city, and you can see the star shows where on the map this site is located. Again, this is an aerial photo of the site outlined in red. The applicant, Ms. Deborah Lively, is requesting permission to allow a private school to operate at an existing place of worship. The school has been named Mission Academy and wishes to serve students from kindergarten to 8th grade. It will operate Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. till 3 p.m. and host a maximum of 30 students. This is a list of the matters of consideration taken into account when planning staff was reviewing this request. And this is a list of the highlights that we found from that list. So as stated, the site is currently zoned R1, which does allow for private schools via conditional use, which is why we're here this evening. The existing site will serve the need of the community by providing another option for school services. A private school with 30 students is estimated to average 123 daily trips. It seems a little large, but that's just an estimate. This section of Fort Smith Boulevard between India and Cortland Boulevards carries currently 8,600 vehicles and has a capacity to carry 14,700. So that will leave this segment of Fort Smith to operate above the acceptable level of service, which is E. The applicant has proposed improvements to the site, as including landscaping along Fort Smith Boulevard, new solid waste dumpster and enclosure. They will be updating the directional and traffic signage throughout the site. They will be providing directional arrows on the concrete apron, as well as updating the parking configuration. These are some of the photos of the improvements that they have already implemented. Restriping of the handicap parking spaces, an updated stop sign. So with that being said, staff recommends the City Commission to approve resolution number 2023-50, which would grant a conditional use for the private school to operate at an existing church at 600 Fort Smith Boulevard, with the following conditions. Currently, they have applied for 30 students with a maximum of 2 staffs. If they wish to increase either staff or students, they will have to apply for a new conditional use. The private school must meet all applicable Florida statute requirements. They will have to receive a new business tax receipt for 600 Fort Smith Boulevard. They will have to apply for a change of use permit, as well as the site must conform to all approved site plan construction drawings and other related documents for this project. With that being said, there will be no modifications to the building. All the modifications will be on site.
Thank you, Jonathan. Vice Mayor Bradford.
Can I get a clarification from staff? What do churches usually, what are they zoned under? What do you guys usually have churches zoned under? Are they usually under residential 1?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What's the requirements for assembly? 60? What's the requirement for assembly? So generally, do churches have, are they not required assembly?
So they are required assembly, but we also require, if they're in the R1, they have to do a conditional use just for the house of worship use. Does that make sense?
Okay. So it's currently being used as a house of worship. It's not listed assembly, so that means it's not, it don't have, does it have the adequate sprinkler? Is there a sprinkler system? Is there anything that an assembly would require?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but I do understand that it should be up to fire code. It is. Excuse me. Fire has reviewed it, and it is up to code.
Okay. And this is not a not-for-profit. So they are going to be charging to have students attend this school.
I will leave that question for the applicant.
It's right here in their application. The school will be run by state-certified seasoned educators. The school will function Monday through Friday with 2 to 3 teachers and up to 45 students. to open a small private school kindergarten through 8th grade that will serve the local community at a reasonable cost. So to me, at a reasonable cost means I'm going to be charging for these students to attend the school. I guess this is maybe where I'm having a problem with it. We're doing it right in the middle. We just talked about traffic. We're doing it right in the middle of an area of traffic, right down Fort Smith. I don't know. I guess I need to hear more information on this one.
Understood. Thank you, Commissioner Burbank, then Commissioner Jerry Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's hard to read at this scale. Is this parking lot, is this shell? Is it paved, concrete, shell, asphalt? Do you know?
I believe it's asphalt milling.
It's asphalt?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you've answered my question then. Thank you.
Commissioner Jerry Lee, then Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. I went to the P&Z meeting when this happened to come up too, and I've heard all about it. The smaller schools, a lot of our public schools now, not all of them, have a lot to be desired. I'm all about a smaller private school. I think the kids learn a lot more. I was curious about the BTR and all that, and Vice Mayor, you brought up the thing about the traffic and all, and I agree with that. The only difference is if the kids don't go here, they're going to have to drive by there to go to another school in the area. So it kind of really don't make much of a difference. There's schools on both sides of it, so if they're not going there, they're going to be still on that same road going to school. So to me, it doesn't make much of a difference. The parking lot is big enough for people to go in, turn around, and leave safely. They're making a spot for them to have the dumpster on the property. I don't know if it's been done yet because I haven't been through the parking lot since the P&Z meeting, but I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-50, granted conditional use to allow a private school to operate on existing church building for a property located at 600 Fort Smith Boulevard within R1 single families zoning district, planning and, yeah, that's it.
There's a motion by Commissioner Jody Lee, a second by Commissioner Burbank. Commissioner Avila Vasquez is on the board as well.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just need to understand this. You're going to have from kindergarten to 8th grade.
If the commission would allow me, can I bring up the folks so that way they can answer your question directly?
Thank you.
Sorry, Jonathan. No worries. They're the ones more fitted to answer that question.
Josh Lively, Mission Academy. Okay, I just need to understand this. So you're going to be servicing kindergarten to 8th grade? That is correct. And you have 2 classrooms? We have 1 classroom that we operate in. Okay, and 2 teachers? 2 teachers, yes. Correct. So how do you break down the grade levels? Well, it's still broke down the way it would normally do. We use center-based learning to be able to move students through different activities that are grade appropriate for themselves. It's not uncommon in the public school system, especially when you get into the ESE department, to have separate class that consist of multi-grade levels that use center-based learning to be able to accommodate all students. So you can have a kindergarten child with an 8th grade child in the same room? Yes, ma'am. With 1 teacher? With 2 teachers. 2 teachers? Yes, ma'am. But you have 2 classrooms? No, we utilize 1 classroom. Okay, it says here you have 2 classrooms. Yes, ma'am, but as part of our approval with the fire department, it has to be a single classroom under 1,000 square feet so that we are no longer required to have a fire sprinkler system. So you don't have fire sprinklers? No, we do not.
We're not required to.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor Bradford, you had a question?
He actually just answered it because he just kind of stated, so what we received is not totally accurate. So I kind of am getting a little different. So you guys have, I think I've already got it. Thank you.
Okay, is there any public comment?
No.
Okay,
She's got.
there's a public comment. No, podium.
I have to state my name for the record here tonight.
I have to say, you said you have a grandchild, right, that goes to public schools that they go to? So she's in an overcrowded.
Is your microphone on?
I have no idea.
Is the light green?
Yeah.
Okay. Just try to speak a little bit more into the microphone, please.
So you said you have grandchildren, granddaughter, grandchild, whatever. So I'm assuming that he or she is still in school, at an overpopulated school. That's what teachers.
That don't care about the kids, that don't care about the students, that overcrowded so they can't get the best of the intuition, like the educational experience. I've been working in law enforcement for the past 17 years, working with juvenile offenders that recidivate. The schools around here are absolutely disgusting. There's no education. They teach just to be able to pass a test. Why not have a new school that is smaller sizes so that kids can actually get a daggum education rather than going to school just to learn how to take a test? Safety and security and the well-being of our students, especially in the Deltona area, should be the main focal point that we're having here. Not only are they able to get a high-quality education by two experienced teachers who not only teach to teach, but also teaches their passion to love the kids and to do what's right for the students that are eventually going to take our jobs as we retire and move on. I think that you need to take all aspects into consideration. Is it really a big deal that there's no fire sprinklers? No, you can have other entities to be able to put out fires, but I think that we need to look at the kids and the population that we serve, the care and custody and their safety, and the amount of the education that they're going to get by two qualified, amazing teachers that go over and beyond their call of duties and that are a true definition of a leader by performance with the teachers that we would have in Miss Academy. Let our students have a chance to succeed and to excel in their education that they're currently getting. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Bradford, and then we'll go to a vote.
Richard Bellick, please.
That was very well said, ma'am. How are you going to put kids into school? All right, it's one classroom. You're going to put 30 kids in it, and you have no fire system, no fire alarm system. You're going to be teaching a kindergarten kid here and a 7th grade student here. What do we got to do? Level it off like Columbus discovered America in 1492 on this side and 1952 on this side? Come on, that's crazy. You don't need something like this. And like she said, the school system's terrible in here. Deltona, where do kids go when they get out of high school? Walmart, Burger King. Come on. You don't need a school like this. And plus the fact alone, it should be turned down just not being able to put out a fire, not a fire system. That's enough.
All right, after this one, we're going to go to Vice Mayor and then...
My name's Tawny Rogers. I used to work at Sunrise Elementary, and I worked in the ESE department. I've seen Debbie Lively teach 18 students, kindergarten through 3rd, 18. They would bring in the EBD children because they were so bad and put them in her class. She was still able to teach. By the time she was done there was probably 90% of those kids were able to read that were not able to read before she was there. So I just want you to know, like, her extent of that. 2, when it comes to the sprinklers, you guys are being a little ridiculous with it because you look at daycares and I watch them and how they're able to get those kids out, and there's not a problem with it. But yet this, when you have less than 30 students, they'll be fine getting out. The building's not that big. You can go right out. There's like 3 or 4 exits there. Several different ways they could get out. It's not that big of a deal. What was the other thing? Traffic. I drop my kids off there. I pick them up twice a day. It's not that bad. It's dead. I can get right out. I don't even have to, I stop, I look, and I go. Traffic's not, that's not an issue. You guys keep bringing up these things like you want to shut it down, and I don't know what the big deal is about businesses in Deltona, but you guys don't want business. You guys want homes, and I don't understand it. Doesn't make any sense. Why are you giving them such a hard time when they're just trying to do something good for our community and our children? Thank you.
Adam Vasquez, please.
Good evening. District 3. I had the opportunity to hear the applicant speak at the P&Z meeting, and from what I understand, it's a smaller class size with kids that can potentially be maybe at different levels, different age kids that may be at the same level, and that was better. I do like the idea of smaller classroom. I was in smaller classrooms as a kid. I was in special classes, and I learned better in those settings than I did in the settings where there was 30 kids to a teacher. So I love the idea of 45 kids in the classroom. I understand it's a smaller building, so less kids in a smaller building, maybe the lack of a sprinkler system isn't as important. But as someone just mentioned, we do want to bring more businesses to Deltona. So when people want to open things like this off of roads like Fort Smith Boulevard, in some cities that were improperly designed, you oftentimes see houses converted into doctor's offices, small schools. Perhaps the backyard could be used as a parking lot. We need to think ahead on what we're going to do with roads like Fort Smith Boulevard, Normandy Boulevard. Some of these main arterial routes to our community are the perfect roads for this type of case. So the fact that it has an R1 zoning, in my opinion, is a mistake to begin with. Maybe it should have been commercial to begin with, and then we wouldn't be talking about this here tonight. So I'm very supportive of the idea here. I think that we should try something different, and maybe it'll attract more redevelopment on Fort Smith Boulevard. Thank you. Have a good night.
Good evening. My name is Mackenzie Dyke. I believe that this school should be a thing because middle schools now have a bunch of fights. There are kids doing bad things in the bathrooms and just doing bad things in general. And having a smaller class size will make it easier, and you won't get to see as much fights because it would be easily controlled. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to Vice Mayor Bradford, and then we'll go for a vote.
Young lady, thank you for coming up here. You know what? Voicing your concern, whether everybody agrees with you or not, that was very brave. Great job. Okay. I want to say that. And I'm going to throw this out here, just, it's not a big deal to not have a sprinkler system until something happens and somebody gets injured, and then who's it going to come on? It's going to come on us, because it is important. Our requirement is to assure that there is safety. And yes, I have many grandchildren. I have 8 grandchildren, and I couldn't imagine my youngest 6-year-old grandchild going to school with the 16-year-old grandchild. I just can't imagine it. Or the 15-year-old. I can't even fathom them maturity-wise, education-wise in the same classroom, and I'm sure you guys do it. I'm sure it's great. Something that somebody mentioned out there kind of concerned me. They said they're currently dropping their children off. Is that for daycare, or what? Do we know what is currently a daycare there as well?
Can I go back up?
Is it currently a daycare?
Do you
Is
want
it currently a school?
So we rent out space from there, which we have for 3 years. We are a nonprofit Christian church, and we rent the space out all through the week. We are a tutoring center, and we've applied for the conditional use for the school. So that's how we are operating at this moment, which we've already gotten approval for that. Now, as far as the fire sprinkler goes, daycares are not required to have fire sprinklers.
This isn't a daycare. Okay.
I understand what you're saying, but it's 1,000 square feet, and the exits all around the place.
Thank you. We don't go back and forth during the commission comments. Sorry. This is concerning to me. I get, they're saying they have conditional use already in that. I'm just a little concerned. So were you aware of that? Were you guys aware of that? Yes. Staff? You're aware that it was already being used as tutoring in school? Okay. I just want to make sure. So I do have to look at certain things. There's just a few items here that do spark concerns for me. You know, I'm all for, you know, private schools. I've never been against private schools, but somebody mentioned it. I almost feel like I'm going back to Little House on the Prairie. You know, it's bringing, unfortunately, no, I just can't. I'm sorry. Again, I give you guys all kudos for coming up. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jody Lee, and then we're going to go for a vote, please.
Like I said, that's why I made the motion, because I think the smaller classroom size is safer. You're going to probably have less chances of kids bringing fentanyl in your classroom. Most likely the chances are a lot less that somebody in your class is going to have a gun in there, and it's 10. You're paying more attention. There's a church in there right now where they're holding services. So I guess we only should be concerned about the 30 kids in class and not the 60 people in church service with a sprinkler. Tell me where this makes sense. Anyway.
They should have a sprinkler too.
Well, they should, but they don't. But they're be open now, and the fire department don't close them down. So evidently, the fire department thinks it's safe enough for them to be operating. End of story.
Commissioner Jody Lee. The motion passes 5-1. All right, we're going to move forward to resolution number 2023-39, granting a variance to waive the minimum lot size requirement on an existing 100-foot wide lot with an area of 0.92 acres within the RE1 Residential Estate 1 zoning district located at 728 Riggs Avenue.
Hello, my name is Caitlin Apgar, Planning and Development Services. Could I get the presentation?
Can you please put up the presentation?
All right. This presentation is a request for a variance located at 728 Riggs Avenue. The parcel of reference is 0.92 acres. This resides in the zoning classification RE1, Residential Estate 1. This zoning classification requires a 1 acre minimum. So the variance would be to meet the 0.08 acre difference in order to allow for development. There exist no irregularities in the parcel. Here you can see there is an AE flood zone in the northernmost section of the parcel. The AE category just means there is a base flood elevation established, and the structure must be built 1 foot above said base flood elevation. There's currently no wetland encroachment on the parcel, as depicted in the map to the right. The RE1 zoning classification exists surrounding the property, with public zoning north of the parcel where the Lake Butler chain exists. As you can see from the aerial imagery, the lake does abut the parcel. For a brief history, prior to incorporation, this area was zoned Volusia County RA, which required 5 acres per lot. When the city incorporated, the 1 acre requirement was imposed with the RE1 zoning classification per annexation records found from this time. The RE1 zoning classification was established to safeguard the integrity of the rural land developments in this area. There is not existing record of any subdivision or annexation of this parcel into the city. It is unknown when this parcel was created, but as of 1998, we do know that this parcel has existed in its current irregular state. With that being said, the parcel still retains a buildable area of 27,200.7 square feet if it abides by all their zoning requirements. The lot size requirement is the only requirement that would require exemption. The most common use of this zoning is a single family home, which would only require 1,400 square feet for the principal dwelling. This is just a side-by-side comparison of the only requirement that would require exemption, which is the lot size area. These matters of consideration are the variance criteria required per our code, section 110-1103. These are noted on the staff report, so I'm going to try to be pretty succinct with them. The first matter of consideration is special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land. Special conditions do exist as this parcel is part of an unrecorded subdivision and it is unplatted. While not entirely uncommon, it is a factor in considering how and why it became an irregular parcel. The second criteria is special conditions and circumstances exist that do not result from the actions of the applicant. The applicant has not owned any contiguous properties during his ownership, and the parcel has existed definitively in this way since 1998, per the flume map depicted earlier. This is no fault of current owner. The third criteria is that literal interpretation of this chapter would deprive the applicant rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning classification. The parcel located at 728 Riggs cannot be developed as a singular parcel due to the size constraint in the zoning classification. This be considered right commonly enjoyed by other property owners in the same classification. If this parcel is not granted a variance for the size constraint, it will remain undeveloped unless combined with an adjacent property. The fourth criteria is the variance granted is the minimum variance granted to make possible the reasonable use of the land. The applicant requests a variance to waive the minimum lot size requirement. All other requirements of the zoning classification must be met in future developments. The fifth and final criteria is the granting of this variance is in harmony with the general intent of this chapter, the zoning chapter, and the comprehensive plan. The RE1 zoning classification intends to safeguard the integrity of rural land developments, as mentioned earlier. Granting the applicant this variance would not disturb the continuity of the area, as it'll retain a larger portion of land than other single-family zoning classifications within the code. With that being said, the property located at 728 Riggs Avenue is currently undeveloped and has no irregularities other than its nonconformity. Given that the parcel is 0.0 acres short of a full acre, as opposed to any greater, the lot is able to abide by any other requirements of its zoning classification. Therefore, staff recommends the City Commission approve Resolution 2023-39, granting a variance to reduce the minimum lot size requirement for the parcel located at 728 Riggs Avenue.
Vice Mayor Byrd.
Great job, Caitlin.
Thank you.
So, a couple questions. 728 Riggs Avenue, is that an independent owner of the two adjacent properties?
Yes, this is a different owner than the adjacent properties.
Than the two adjacent and behind it? Because I noticed there's also another one pretty much the same size, almost behind it as well. I guess I would have a concern if I was the two adjacent property owners of the value of home. What size home are they going to do? And that's a tough one. So instead of normal, was it 20-foot setbacks on the left and right? We're going to 15?
The code states 15 foot when adjacent to other parcels. So it abides by all of the requirements of the code.
Okay, so the only requirement we're changing then. So I still have 15 foot left, 15 foot right, 40 foot rear, 40 foot front.
Yes, ma'am.
They'll still be required to have a minimum home build of 200 square foot or 14? 1,400, okay. And, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's no other questions. Commissioner Villa-Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. So once the house is built, there is 40 feet available in the back connecting to the back property. Is that correct? So,
Get that 40 foot back in.
right, to the back property. What's the required footage right now?
So the back part of the property is like the Lake Butler chain. So it's mostly lake back there. The requirement is 40 feet and it would have to meet that 40-foot setback.
So there's a lake back there right now?
Yes.
It's partly wetlands.
Mm-hmm. And the side of the house, is the 15-foot the requirement from the side of the other properties?
Yes, when, per the code, when it's sent to another parcel, it is 15 foot on the side.
So we had another one like this before, or is this the same one that came up to us last time?
This is a different parcel. I think the other property would have been, I think, a smaller lot and a different zoning classification.
We had
To my
one like
knowledge.
this, right? And it was tonight?
Yeah, I think we did have another one like this. And I thought they had told us from wetland. So I thought the setback was from the wetland area, not, so if I'm looking at this, like how far in is the wetland and?
There's no wetland encroachment on this property, per our map and the survey dated from June of 2023.
Okay, not to be funny, what's this though?
That is just the flood zone. It's just an AE flood zone, which means there is a base flood elevation. I'm no expert in flood zones by any means.
Okay.
Oh, we're talking about the lake maybe on the wetlands map? My apologies. This blue part of the wetland map is just the water from the lake.
I didn't mean to interrupt on yours.
No, you're good.
I just, it dawned on me when she said that I thought we had to have a setback from the lake. Do you mind?
Yeah, absolutely.
When the applicant comes in, their full survey will have to depict if there are any wetlands on the property, and then there will be an additional 25-foot setback from that wetlands as well, if they find anything on the property.
Okay, thank you.
Their survey would depict that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there any other questions on the dais? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Jody Lee.
So on this property, the only difference with this property, as it's right there, it's zoning for 1 acre. This is just .93 or whatever. So that's it. That's the only difference.
Yes.
Okay.
Basically, yep.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution 2023-39, granting a variance to waive the minimum lot size requirement of an existing 100-foot wide lot with an area of 0.92 acres within the RE1 residential zoning district located at 728 Ridge Avenue.
Thank you, Commissioner Burbank. There is a motion by Commissioner Bank. There's a second, Commissioner Colwell. Can we please go, is there any public comment?
Albert Bryan, please.
There's a reason why this area is zoned RE1. It doesn't even come close to an estate-size lot. Granted, that's what we're asking for a variance. Both lots on both sides are actual RE1 size. But you want to put this, squeeze this little thing like in the yellow stuff in an Oreo, like between there? Okay, I got it. Now, they can say that the water, is not going to come up the flood map. It shows it. It can come up that far. It can come up that far. Doesn't mean it has. Doesn't mean it will. But it can. Wetlands encroachment? Definitely. The last 10 feet of this property is encroaching on the wetlands. Here's the problem I have with it, though. The fact that it does not conform to the rest of the states in that area. How many times have we heard this? Over and over and over. We have heard y'all accept variances and or actual full BPUDs that don't match the area at all, period. I can bring up right off the top of my head. It didn't match the area at all. And yet y'all wanted to put 40 by 120 lots in there. I just find it amazing that you have a wetland right behind it, directly behind it. You have a floodplain map that shows you a possibility of flooding. Doesn't mean it ever will, it just means that it can. The problem with this one, more than anything else, is it doesn't match the area at all. Granted, this was probably done way back when the two brothers were doing this lot. And that's the problem with this. You can't put something like this between two estates, because in order to do this, you have to do an elongated house. And it's probably going to be 2 stories. And it's probably going to look ugly because you're going to have this whole little section cleared out compared to the lot to the right or to the left that actually have all natural land-based growth there. So you're going to have one lot that's going to be completely different than everything else around it. To me, granting this variance would set another precedent. But y'all, it seems like y'all want to do that every time that something like this comes up. Y'all want to say, okay, let's just go ahead and do it. But think about it. If we have another hurricane that, let's say, 30 inches of water on us instead of 26, is this going to flood? And whose fault's that going to be? The guy who actually ends up buying this come in and say, it's y'all's fault. Y'all allowed this, and I was dumb enough to buy it. Just something to consider.
Jim Norton, please.
Hello, my name is Jim Norton. I'm the owner of the land. And I'd just like to point out, within a half-mile radius of that property, there's at least 8 confirmed by the tax appraiser's office that are less than an acre in that area, down Riggs and down Previs. As far as flooding goes, even after Ian, I was out on the property, and there may have been 20 feet on the back corner that got water up above the stake that was put in by the surveyor. The rest of it was high and dry, and I'd like to thank you for my time.
That ends public comment.
Good morning, Davidson, Harriet, Deltona. We're talking about an infill lot. This is a lot that the whole board has talked about. We need to develop these infill lots and reduce the new developments. 0.08 of an acre is a rounding error back when these guys first platted this and were pulling chains. Let it happen. This makes all the sense in the world. He's not going to build a house that floods. He's already looked at it. He's put feet on the ground. It's not D.R. Horton. It's not these other developers. He's not going to build a house that's going to flood. Approve it.
I'm going to take one more comment from Commissioner. That's Commissioner Jody Lee, and then we'll go for it.
I've been out to the area and looked around. There's several areas, several pieces of property in that area that are the exact same thing. There's houses built, and they're far enough away from the neighbors, not disturbing neighbors. There's one right across the street that's the same size. It's not disturbing. My only issue is when the property was bought, again, where we're always having this issue in town and we seem to give free passes, is the due diligence that people refuse to do when they buy property. That's my only issue. But if you get the other stuff around there's properties right off the street. They're the same exact size, same thing with a house lid on it, built on it. They're not disturbing the neighbors. The guy lives next door to this property. I guess he's going to put a camper or something or a mobile home or something there. I mean, it's a very country rural, so it's not like the guy's going to build some modern Art Deco house 15 stories high on this lot. I mean, it's just but there's other property around here the same size is what I'm getting at.
Thank you, Commissioner. Can we vote? Motion passes 4-2. We're going to go ahead and move on to new business. Consideration of a reduction in the fines of $10,000 assessed pursuant to Special Magistrate Cases DEL-13-063 and DEL-13-064. Mr. Danny Ron.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. This is a request for reduction in fines on 2 court cases back from May 2013. The address is 990 Winbrook Drive. Code compliance under these cases, DEL 13-063 for no animal license and DEL 13-064 for no rabies vaccination at the special magistrate hearing back in 2013. The fine was imposed per day and cases eventually capped out at $1,000 per case. The current owner has requested the reductions in fine. We did present this request at the special marriage hearing in September the 27th this year, and her recommendation was reduced from $10,000 to $1,000 for each case, for a total of $2,000 for both of them. At this time, we're looking to get approved on the reduction in fine. I do want to give some background on the current property. He does own several other properties here in Deltona. We've had history with cases here. We do have a property currently with cold cases. My recommendation would be, if you do approve the reduction in fine, but to put conditions on it that the other property gets compliance with more a time.
Commissioner Jody Lee, then Commissioner Burbank, then Vice Mayor Bradford.
Okay, this property, this gentleman just purchased this property not long ago.
No, actually, the ownership of this property was back October 2014, just about a year and a half after the case was presented in special magistrate.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, 2014? So this has been on the books for long?
That's correct. Now, the property owner mentioned there was a lien search done, and our department does the lien searches, and there was no request for the lien search when back in 2014. So he did not do his due diligence, checking.
So I have to, because we always holding people to the thing about money, and we have to pay for this and pay for that. So what you're asking us right now is to take a code case that right now is up to $20,000 and reduce it to how much?
Well, that's the recommendation from the special magistrate. And the reason for her recommendations, because these were animal cases and different owner. This is not the owners of those cats at that time. That's why she reduced it to $1,000 per case.
Okay, but my thing of it is, it's been around for this long. We're holding everybody's feet to the fire. We're talking about taking $20,000, reducing it to $1,000 a piece, and okay, have a good day. I'm sorry. Can anybody show me where this makes $20,000 down to $2,000?
So if he can't, could you just, because I have other commissioners on the board, can you explain that part? You're saying that did he inherit the fine from somebody else? Is that what's happening?
That is correct. I mean,
No due diligence.
once you put a fine on the property, whoever the owner is, inherits all the fines on the property.
So basically, there was no due diligence in the background. It wasn't done properly.
That is correct.
Okay, and that's...
They were cash sales and no title.
Right, okay, so again, due diligence is our fault?
No.
We're talking $20,000 that thing's been on the books for years, and then you want to settle for $1,000 a piece, so that's $2,000. That means we just, all this work and having on all these years and all in our computers and people working on it, and we're going to reduce $20,000 to $2,000. I'm just, I won't even say no more. You can already guess what I'm going to say.
This was the recommendation the special magistrate presented in this case.
Commissioner Burbank, then Vice Mayor Bradford.
Thank you, Mayor. Frankly, I'd be happy just to be made whole. If we could, that'd be nice by me. You did say, you mentioned the words reasonable amount of time. You mentioned that there are other pending issues with this particular.
Not this property, but we have another property that the property owner owns at this current moment.
Very good.
The address is between 2913 Lake House.
The address is irrelevant. So you have another issue with the same property owner at another site, and you're thinking that we should condition this reduction in fine on them being able to make improvements to that property, bring that property up in a reasonable amount of time.
That's correct.
Knowing what you know that needs to be done at this other site that we don't know, what would you consider to be a reasonable amount of time?
14 days, sir.
You think they can get all the work done in 14 days?
Yes, sir.
Have they given you any indication they'd be willing to get done in 4 days?
Well, we mentioned that before they came this evening. They claimed they're going to be taking care of it the evening before they came here and provide proof that they come into compliance with
So
photos.
if we approve this reduction fine, they're agreeing to make everything that you got on the books clean.
That's what I'm proposing.
And we would be made whole, staff time and any other expenses that we have had.
Correct. So that amount, that $1,000, that was our, we provided that information to the special magistrate. That's these costs on each of the cases, and that's what went off with $1,000.
Thank you, Mr. Ron.
Vice Mayor Bradford, then Commissioner Colwell.
I always had a saying for my kids. which was lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency awning. I don't know, was the property, I get it was a cash sale. Was it bought from family member to family member? Honestly, I don't care. I know that sounds harsh, but the responsibility is to make sure your property is lien-free, to make sure your property is no pending debts. And we're coming the night of a meeting to say, oh, today I cleaned my property. Yay! How long's the other property, 2913 Lake Helen Osteen, been in light?
Off the top of my head, there was just one cold case, and it was about 2 months.
2 months.
So I had a court
So this
officer
was
go.
a priority, right?
So I sent a court officer today just to verify, make sure it's in compliance, so we can present that information to you. We happen to find more cold cases at the location. At the current time, there's 4 cold cases open at that address.
4.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm not seeing any, what would be the word, urgency on the owner's part to do any cleaning up. I mean, we've had owners in here before that are like, I've cleaned it, I'm doing this, I'm done, I've kept property clean, I'm in compliance, I've been in compliance, and they have showed major, I call it respect, to show up the day of the meeting, say I cleaned it up and find out there's 4 more. To me, this is like a no-brainer. I move to not approve the reduction of fines in either case.
There's a motion by Vice Mayor Bradford, and there's a second by Commissioner Cole. I have a question before the public comments. What are the 4 code violations?
The original case was fence and repair. A chain link fence has damage up front of the property. We have a lot main case for trash, debris throughout burnt yard. We have soffit damage to include exterior wall damage up in the front of the house.
Thank you. Commissioner Jody Lee.
Well, like this one, when did he discover that this lien from the city was on the property? When he went to sell it, or right after he bought it?
The property owner brought it to our attention back in April.
He bought it in April?
No. He brought it to our attention. He's looking for reduction fines. I'm not aware when he realized when there was a lien on this property.
I'm just wondering if he realized it right as he went to put it for sale and said, oh, 20,000 is owed.
That could be.
I agree with the vice mayor about the reduction. I mean, if anything, I would go with a half amount for 10, but you made a motion, I'll stick with that. I mean, I'd give him a bit of a break, but not for.
Vice Mayor Bradford, and then we'll go to public comment.
I guess I'm hangry. Thanks. I need a Snicker. So I'd throw it, but I'd probably hit you and get sued. So, a question, I guess this is difficult for me. The violations you're talking about, okay, you said fence, lot maintenance, obviously lot maintenance, you can clean it up, soffit damage and exterior wall repair. I guess that makes me go, these items not getting done because of a financial burden that they have, and if so, has it been recommended to them? Any assistance on any of our programs? I don't know. So that is a question, I guess. I don't know if I'm stepping overboard. I mean, but are these repair items not being done because of lack of funds to do the repairs? That's totally different than he flips houses. Okay.
That's the other
So how
question
long
I
has the home at?
He does not live at this property. He has a different property where he lives at.
Okay, so 2913 is not a new purchase property? No. He's had it for a while?
Yes, correct.
He flips homes? Okay, thank you.
That's why I asked that question, and then I remember he said he owns a couple properties in the city.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
public comment, please.
Albert Bryan, please.
Someone help me understand this. I mean, what it says here in the agenda is that this is about some cat and dog thing. And he's talking about ugly property and stuff. You're talking about garbage being out there, and yet the agenda says cats and dogs. So what are we actually talking about here? I mean, obviously the agenda itself isn't full of what we actually need to understand what the heck is going on here. So if I was to buy a truck and test drive it, and I got in it to drive it home, halfway home, the motor blows up. Whose fault's that? Mine or the guy who owned it to me or sold it to me? It's my fault. I didn't do my due diligence. The citizen of this city, I ask that code compliance work the way it's supposed to according to our codes. I have fought with code compliance for umpteen dozen years to get them to do this right. And now you're telling me, after all this fighting, you want me to accept a reduction in a fine that's gone on for years, years, and years? Because somebody decided to buy it and their title company did do a proper title search. I'm sorry, that's between the new owner and their title company. It ain't got nothing to do with my city and how we take and fine these people for not doing their due diligence with, I guess, cat, dog, or whatever the problem was with the property, because the agenda is not obviously properly filled out. But I'm willing to give a little bit. And I mean a little bit. You want a $10,000 fine? Okay, knock it in half to $5,000. You have another $10,000 fine, knock it in half to $5,000. To knock it all the way down to $1,000 is the word of sanity. Because he's obviously been out to this property, or not him personally, but his code enforcement people have been out to this property for what he said was years. So if I had an ongoing issue with code enforcement and I couldn't solve it, I could come in here and say, oh, please, look, just charge me $1, even though they got 10 grand of time to it. Just charge $1. And y'all are going to go for that, really? Really? That's interesting. Because I've been before the special magistrate many times. There's a little short guy that used to sit that seat right there. Every time I would come here, I would get called on me. You know what they told me one time? I had a 2-inch flower in a flower bed, and they said, oh, that's his code. I had to go to a special magistrate to get straightened out. I did my due diligence. I do my due diligence every time before I come up here. Time we hold people accountable.
That ends public comment.
Vice Mayor Bradford, and then we're going to vote.
All right, let me say why I'm not feeling very giving when it comes to this. And this is not this message for all the investors. You're going to come into Deltona and be an investor. The last thing I want to see is properties left in a state of duress. If you are an investor, because I've worked with investors, the first thing they're going to do is come in, improve that property, improve it, make repairs to it that are necessary. The whole goal is to improve the neighborhood. Improve so your value is next to it. If you're a flipper, this is a no-brainer to me. That is why I do not want to reduce this down. You're investing in the city. You've had the property for years. You've had the properties that you have more on. No, I'm not going to say it's okay. It's not okay. If you're an investor, you're coming into our city. I don't want to see residents coming in here, and I've heard it too many times. Oh, I bought a house that was owned by an investor. They just did a cover. No, you're coming into Deltona, you're going to do it the right way. So do it the right way or move out. Not residents, the investors. Go somewhere else where you put your cover up on those parcels.
Vote, please. If you put yes, you're going to deny them the rest. If you vote no, then you will approve, allow them the request.
I voted to not accept the reduction.
So go by what it was said, not by what's up there.
Right, it says I moved to not the reduction.
The motion to deny the reduction passes 6-0. All right, we're going to move to consideration for reduction in the fines of $19,350 assessed pursuant to Special Magistrate Case Del-22-27, Macy, reduced to $4,500. Mr. Danny Ron. Bless you.
Danny Ron, Co-Compliance Manager.
God bless you.
This is a request for reduction in fine cold case from July 22 at 1567 Volusia Street. Compliance per this case DEL 21-211 for no permit for concrete work, which they did the driveway at the special measure hearing. A fine was imposed per day until they came to compliance. The fine stopped at $9,350 when compliance was achieved. Once they applied for the permit and the permit was issued, Mr. Shane Hiddle, construction supervisor with Main Street, has requested deduction in fines. We've been in this case at special measure hearing September 27 this year, and her recommendation was a reduction from $19,350 to $4,500 for this case. The property owner, when we looked it up on property appraisers, they own 54 properties in Volusia County. 30 of them are here in the city of Deltona limits. City cost for this case was $1,100. That's all I have.
Okay, before we go to Commissioner Jody and Commissioner Colwell and then Vice Bradford, so they showed up via Zoom?
Was that, sir?
They showed up via Zoom? Is that what happened?
They requested Zoom. I don't think we provide Zoom. I was told they were going to show up.
So they're here. Okay, that's all I want. Commissioner Jody Lee, and then we'll continue with the rest of the commissioners.
I'm back at the same thing. How many different violations? They said they own all the property around Deltona. Are there any violations that other these properties? Because from looks like at my standpoint, from what I'm reading and read all this, their property manager messed up. And I'm just wondering if the property manager messed up. And this is another corporation. This is one person this is a corporation owns plenty of land. So they messed up, and they want us to forgive. So, I mean, do they have many other violations?
Right now, we checked all the properties in Deltona. There is current case open.
Is there history?
There is history, and there's minor. I pull the records, and once we get done here, I'm going to talk to the gentleman here and kind of address that. We do have one special master case, and we have fines still running for permit or offense. Take advantage that the gentleman's here and coordinate with him on that.
Right. So this is basically a corporation that what it appears a project manager messed up.
That's correct. Just by one letter in the property owner name, I'm thinking corporation is bigger than what I mentioned. Yeah, so how big they are.
So this ain't like one individual that's living off Social Security and.
No, this is not one.
This is a business that has many properties that wants to forgive their fine. Okay.
When they finally did reach out to us, I want to bring this to their attention. They go on the permit process right away, and they got the inspections done, and everything passed. So that permit did pass all the inspections.
Well, that's good. Is that before or after you told them they were going to owe us $10,000?
That was after we told them they owed.
Go figure. That convenient.
Vice Mayor Bradford.
What type of company is this?
The company is.
Are they a GC?
What was that, sir, ma'am?
Are they a general contractor? Do they do concrete all the time?
He's a construction supervisor. That's what the title I got for you.
So so as a construction supervisor, I guess my clarification is what would they do? Residential? I mean, I almost want to know from them what they do and why would they think that they did not need a permit, and how long did it take them to permit?
Okay.
Once we're notified that there was I guess I would say that they probably should have known they should have pulled a permit. And how long after they were notified that they need to pull a permit did they pull a permit? Did an oops, or was it I hope I get caught?
I'll let him answer
saying,
that.
May I approach?
Please.
My construct. My name is Joshua Suda. I'm with Main Street Renewal. We are an institutional investment group behind us. I am the managing arm. My construction partner, who does help run these rehabs when we go in and invest communities, is not here this evening, unfortunately. This was put in the hands of one of our subcontractors who is contracted or who is licensed within the state. And evidently, there was a bit of an oversight in getting the permit for the driveway. It looked like there was something there. There was an apron, so I think they thought they were just repouring a section. But we do not just flip homes. We are in communities 5, and we looked at over 20 years at some point. So we are a larger organization, but we do want to add to the community. We're not asking for complete forgiveness, but a little bit of leeway, and we try and respond, as John said, when it was to our attention. Sometimes it does take a while to get to us. Our corporate office is in Austin, Texas, so by the time quote-unquote certified mail is got there and then makes its way to the local branches, it can take a little bit of time. Did not help things, and I think that's where the impetus started, was during some of the early COVID projects where communications were lost.
So the property that we're speaking of, you're basically an investment firm. You're a firm, like we just talked about, comes into the city, gets these properties, does work on them. So I guess my question is, was there even a permit pulled on the other repairs that was taking place on this building, on this residential property?
Yes, ma'am.
So there's a permit pulled prior to this,
As far as I
Danny,
understand.
can you confirm that, please? I'd like to know, was there a permit prior to this happening? Was missed? I mean, if you file for a permit to do a renovation property, and let's say you put that permit in and you have electrical on your permit, and you have plumbing on your permit, you probably did, what else did you do to the home?
This one, I'd have full specs on what was done as far as the rehab on it.
And when was the permit pulled in relation to the fine?
When it was brought to our attention, I believe.
No, when was the permit pulled in relation to the fine? Prior or after?
After.
Okay, so this was blatantly done. You're doing rehabs, you're experienced doing rehabs, you know what you're supposed to pull a permit for, and you didn't pull a permit until you busted.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Jerry Lee.
Well, that's my thing. You got construction people have experience drug. They know about permits, know about this process, and they just didn't. And the problem is when you first get written up, Ron, how much time do you give them before they go to the magistrate?
I mean, we try to work them as much.
I mean, but what's the average of time? By the time you find a violation and get to magistrate, how much time do they fix that problem before it gets to magistrate?
The earliest, I would say 90 days.
Okay, that's the earliest, but you have some that's longer than that, I'm sure.
That's correct.
When you try to work with people, it takes, so you at least gave them 90 days to the magistrate. And was the original fine for the magistrate that 19,000, or was it a smaller fine? It just kept escalating because they didn't do it?
It occurs every day, the violation exists.
So they had 9 days somewhere around there before it got to the magistrate. And then it just kept building up and up and up until it got to no return.
And I believe the number was at 280 some days in violation.
Yeah, okay. I would like to make a motion to deny the reduction of fine for $19,350 assessed pursuant to special magistrate case DE 22-211. Yeah, that's it. Shane Hyde, construction supervisor, renewal, that one.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jody Lee and a second by Vice Bradford. Do you have any public comment?
O'Brien, please.
You can go ahead and sit down for a minute. Okay, this one's at least a little different. But let's think about this for a minute, because your first notice, you get 10 days. Your second notice, you get about 10 days. So right around there. The third notice, they tell you that they're going to take you to the magistrate if you don't get your together and get it straightened out. And not my fault here again that the people headquarters is all the way out in Texas. The problem with this, though, is the fact that you have somebody in our city that's maintaining rental properties. If we had a rental ordinance, maybe we could solve some of these problems. Because at the end of the day, this actually is a failure to communicate more than anything else. Whether it's their home office communicating with them here in Florida, or whether it's us communicating with the people on site here. I don't really care which way it is. But when you have failure of communication like this is, and you rack up a fine of $19,000 and some odd, and you're dealing with professionals, they're like Jody on this, there's no reason to reduce it at all, because they're supposed to be professionals. They're supposed to act like professionals. You're supposed to pull a permit when you do these things. Not to pull a permit for a resident because he didn't know is no excuse either. But at least he has a little bit of leg to stand on. These people do this day in and day out, day in and day out. There's no excuse not to pull a permit. There's no excuse at all to not follow up on a letter that was sent to them. I don't care if it went all the way out to China and back. There's a reason that we put certified mail. That means somebody had signed that, saying, I got this in the mail. I'm assuming you did. So that tells me that there's a lack of communication on their part, not on ours. To reduce this fine at all would be, once again, the term of insanity. Thank you.
Adam Bass, please.
Good evening, Adam Vasquez, District 3. As many of you know, I'm the president of my HOA. I want to give you guys a little bit lesson on what companies like Main Street Renewal are. So they're investment companies come in and they buy houses in our community, rehab them, and then they turn around, they rent those houses for years, and they usually artificially inflate the rents in our area when they do that, which aggravates the affordable housing that we have going here. Oftentimes, found in our community, we actually rallied our homeowners to pass an amendment to require our homeowners to live in their home 1 year before they can be rented out, because we're sick and tired of sending letters to corporations who own homes in our community that don't take care of them and cause blight in our community. There's a common theme. You send letters. In our case, our corporate-owned rentals are based in Utah. We send them out there, and usually until we get an attorney to start sending them some notices, they don't do anything that's an overgrown loan. We're 85% owner-occupied in our community, so many of our owners, they don't actually want to sit on a fining committee. So under HOA law, we actually don't have a way to fine these corporations who own homes in our community. So we're looking to strengthen the violation process so that we can sign them a lawn contract. Because this is a common theme. Like, you send them a letter and they don't do anything. The fact that they own so many homes in our community and are driving the rent prices up is ridiculous. So I think you should throw the book at them. Take the $19 a large corporation. Don't need to get more corporate welfare in the city of Deltona. Thank you so much.
That ends public comment.
All right, Vice Mayor, and then we're going to vote.
Real quick question. Did this fine can stop when they submitted the permit or after the permit? How long was the permit in the building department?
I can't say, ma'am. I don't have an answer for that. But we did not stop the fine until the actual permit was issued, which it went through the permit process.
Okay. And the reason I asked that is because, our permitting department was a little behind during COVID. And if it's something that it was it in permitting for 60 days and accrued a lot of these fines during when it was through permitting, or I guess I'd like to know that. Like, they did submit it, did it sit there? I do remember a conversation with somebody where they said, hey, I did something, I did a small patch job, and they actually sat in permit for 4 months accruing fines. So something like that, if they set in permitting and then it was immediately done, I don't have a problem, and I don't know, Jody, you made the motion, Commissioner Lee, of, from the time that they submitted it, especially if it had to be in our permitting department for a few months. So to me, that's kind of a question. Like, did it sit there 3 months? Do we know? Can we find out?
From my understanding, he tried to fix it after you guys approached them?
Yes.
Right, so what I'm saying is but then he permitted it, And so how long did it sit in permitting? Like, there are a huge amount of fines because it sat in permitting for 3 months or not? But we don't have that
I
information.
don't have that information.
I say move to a vote. At the end of the day,
let's vote.
that is honestly their responsibility.
Okay, just my issue, and Vice Mayor agreed with some of that, but the problem is COVID didn't cause negligence.
True.
If you had to wait for a permit, look at the amount of that fine. That wasn't for 2 days.
It's almost a,
Yeah, so, you know, that.
okay. Can we please vote? The motion passes 2-1.
It was only permitting for 2 months.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move to comments on consent items.
For Brian, please.
Thanks, Ron.
You always save the best for last. Okay. I have a problem with A. I have a problem with B because $57,000. I have a problem with C because $40,000. I have a problem with E because it's $25,000. I have a problem with F because it's $180,000. I have a problem with G because it's $3,000. And it's not the dollar amount as far as projects is concerned. It's the dollar amount, the fact that it's in the consent agenda. I want to pass this kind of money in the consent agenda without even talking about it. I have talked about this for how many years now, Anita, that we need to do away with a certain dollar amount over that should not be in consent agenda, period. And I think for Peters, the last content manager we had was at $35,000. Sorry about that. I don't include you out here yet. But anything over $35,000 should never be put into consent agenda. Y'all should have a, boy, I had to bite my tongue on that one, a logical conversation about this. Now, that's difficult. I know, even difficult probably sometimes to even head or tails some of the stuff that's in the agenda. I get it. But we need to take and do our due diligence when we are talking about large sums of money being sent inside our city. Because you know what? I looked back tonight, and it's funny. I'm still seeing 22-23 budget back there. I'm 16 days into this budget. I don't have a new budget back there. Oh, but that's right. I had a new budget all this year, have we?
Kathy, Brian, please.
Good evening, Kathy Bryan, Deltona. I have an issue with E. The reason I have an issue with E is because not against give stuff to veterans and stuff like that, but it was done. We had a presentation at a workshop. I was back there waving my hands in the air just to get anybody to remember if you're going to vote on something, you need public comment. But my understanding is when you guys are voting on presentation at workshops, I didn't think you were supposed to vote at workshops. I know you've brought back here at the consent agenda, and maybe I misunderstood what was happening, but these usually come up at a specific time of year when we talk about budgeting different chairs and different, I can't get the number of names, both seats and stuff like that. So this is a great thing, but now is everybody going to be able to come in and give a presentation and get money? I know they're doing a civic to get money out of the city, and I would never deny, veterans something, but do you open yourself up to doing it this way every single time? So I have a concern on that. Thank you.
David Sosa, please.
David Sosa. Once again, yes, I'm looking at item E, great charity. But since when do you bring in a charity, give them 45 minutes to make a presentation, then you decide to vote to give away $25,000 without it even noted to the public that you're going to do that? I mean, you got to have policies, procedures that you'd be following. You want to yell at people that buy investment properties and fine them? You guys have policies and procedures you're supposed to follow. I have a question. Where's $25,000 coming from? Because finance person wasn't here to say, hey, we got an extra $25,000 in this pool. Are we just taking it out of general funds? Is it coming out of CBDG money? Where's the money coming from? Because the other nonprofit that comes through here has to go through a vetting process. What made this one special? Did you guys even vet them? And that's where I have a problem with that. Not that the charity's bad, but you guys fail to follow procedure that you harp on for other people to follow. The other thing, there are houses in here that you're looking to raise the elevation due to flooding that are in the Lake Teresa Basin. What exactly does that include? Are we going to burn around their property? How many properties are we going to do this to? Have we fixed the problem yet? Okay, those are all questions before we start dumping money. What do we do? Was the house built? The owner knew they were building wetland. Was that property 15, 20 years that we allowed certificate of occupancies to build up 3 feet higher than them and put them in a bowl? I can't find any of the information here. So I think those questions need to be answered before we start giving out money. Thank you.
That ends public comment.
Hi, Kathy Gallagher. It's late for me. So my thing I just want to bring up is that we're required to be good stewards of our tax money, and you just seem to throw everything in the consent agenda, raising people's homes for 20 grand, couple here, couple there, and then in the middle of this, in the back pages, is a request for a replacement generator with automatic transfer switch, to 5 grand. I feel like maybe we've not vetted that. There's unanswered questions related to that. Have you looked at just supplementing what we already have? I mean, I understand that it's needed for AC in other buildings in the city. So it's like then, but why are you replacing our current one with the other one? Couldn't you have just supplemented what we already have to work with the other areas, the square footage that you need to have under AC? What's happened with the old one? Is it going to become somebody's yard ornament? Are you giving it away to your best friend? Are you trying to sell it? Are we recouping money from the old one? Like it's just ongoing that all these things are in here and you're just probably going to approve it, but it just seems sad that we're not given the information that we need in order to help contain all the costs that we're paying for. Thank you.
That ends public comment.
We're going to go to Commissioner Jody Lee, then Vice Mayor Bradford.
You know, with all these different things in here, and nobody wants to hear this, what I'm going to say, I think we should go through these one at a time and not consent and just say, hey, let's do this. Because there's a couple on here, I know there's you on here that I'm going to pick apart like there's no tomorrow.
So are you going to make a motion for the ones that were, to which ones come out of the consent?
I just say we just talk about them. We can, if they're easy to talk about, let's just knock them out. But instead of picking them apart, let's just at least have a little bit of a discussion on them. And we can take a vote quick and get it nailed, but I'd rather hear it before it's the way I don't get in trouble later on when somebody says read something or know something. Let's discuss them, because there's a lot of money in here.
All right, we're going to go to request approval of proposal 2335-2023-/24 for contract with Air Property Registry LLC. That's section A. Danny?
The City Commission adopted the Deltona anti-blight ordinance number 12/2014 on July 21, 2014, which requires mortgagee for properties in Deltona to register with the city, pay a $300 fee, and provide identifying information. Hera Property Registry LLC to register mortgagee track mortgage closure activity. How the agreement with Champs has recently expired. So Pro Champs kind of went away, went bankrupt. So we needed another company to come in and pretty much take what Pro Champs doing. They put it up bid. There was the only company that gave a bid, and like what we see so far, an apartment, they do It's $300 to register the property, or, these properties. We get $50 back to the city. Some of the lower jurisdictions, Stanford is one of them, a couple of other jurisdictions, they use the same program, and it's been very effective because I made the phone calls with them. So I'm asking for approval for proposal 23035-2023-2024.
Is there any public comment on section A?
We already did.
Oh, sorry.
Sosa has a comment.
Quick question, is this like a rental ordinance agreement?
No. This is a registry for foreclosed homes. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. It helps us kind of, gives us information to mortgagee, property maintenance companies, so we can reach out to them, hey, I had a problem on this property, can you take care of it? So it's a good program.
Thank you.
I guess a quick question. This company that takes care of foreclosures, so one of these guys forecloses on the home, right? They're out of state, yards in blight, place is a mess, things are falling, right? So this company is a listing of those property owners.
Correct.
Okay. Will this same company, do they have the same means to do rental properties? So they can pretty much, and I'm just asking that because we have asked for a rental ordinance, and the ordinance that was brought just was more money maker. And I think a lot of us had in mind was a rental ordinance that was to track a property owner so we could immediately notify them. Is that something that they could do as well?
I could research that and provide that information in a further meeting.
I mean, it beats us having to, if we've got software and it's already here and they're doing it, I don't understand. I think our proposal was we were going to have to charge so much per person because, and I'm trying to remember, it was so much per person, and then we had fees and all these things we were going to charge every rental owner. So this would actually work out.
We did have a rental property registry before.
Right.
But it went away.
Right. I think that was $25 a head.
Yeah.
But are the companies paying us to maintain database for them, or no? We just,
The
this
fee's
$300, it's an
they're
annual
going to
fee,
send us
that's
back
it.
half the money.
So, but I'm saying the $300, that $300 covers all of the parcels on that program, or it's not 100 a property, right?
It's $300 per property.
It's $300 per property.
Correct.
Youch.
Yes.
And how many do we have on here?
I'm not sure how many we have. This was huge after 2014 era, when we had a lot of foreclosures on throughout the Deltona. The number drastically reduced, but we still use the program so we can reach out to those empty vacant properties.
Okay, now, ouch. We don't know how many on the list we're going to be charged for. So, and I don't want to be rude here, but it looks like I'm approving $300, but when in essence what I'm approving is $300 per property. Oh, heck no. I need a number. I'm sorry. I thought this was $300 for the software.
No.
Or for the, I didn't realize it was $300
They
per
charge
property.
the mortgage companies $3 per foreclosed properties.
So technically, we don't have actual contract, what's going to cost us. How much was this last year?
It won't cost us anything, ma'am.
They're charging the mortgage company.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, don't talk to them about my properties, that's ridiculous, sorry. But we don't get the money from the mortgage, I'm sorry, my brain's running, but we don't get the money from the mortgage company.
We get it from that company.
We get in that company.
Paying them, they're paying them.
The mortgage will pay the company, Hera, and Hera will pay us back the $150 per registry.
And they pay it, and they are paying it.
Yes.
Okay.
They just paying us the.
I just want to make sure that it's not going to back us.
It's not-
Wow,
nothing
that's a great little racket there.
Commissioner Judge.
I understand they're paying $300, so we're getting $150 back. So it's basically free money for the
Yes.
houses being listed.
Yes.
But now at the same time, you're saying that this will just find a property owner.
They will provide us with email, phone numbers, addresses to the mortgagees, so if we do have an issue with the property that's vacant, we send that information to them, or reach out to them via email, phone calls.
We just look at tax IDs who owns
We can't do
property.
that, so
But it doesn't cost us nothing.
this costs us nothing.
I want to make a motion to approve proposal 23035.
So motion by Commissioner Jody Lee and a second by Mayor Brown.
Thank you, guys.
Motion passes 6-0. We're going to move to request approval for contract with Magmeyer Concrete for as-needed concrete work citywide in an initial amount of $57,500. Ms. Phillips.
Good evening, as well as Public Works. This is a recommendation for approved contract with Mashmeyer Concrete for as-needed concrete work citywide, an initial cost of $57,500. This would be for Mashmeyer to deliver concrete to various job sites that work on in Public Works, Deltona Water, Parks and Rec probably use it as well, because we can't mix it up on site, the amount of concrete that we need.
Commissioner Jody Lee.
Just this same concrete coating that was just got $19,000, was it? Just
Don't know the answer to this, sir.
okay, that's it.
Vice Bradford.
What's the part of budget?
Yeah.
Okay. Just ask that question, so I want everybody to know this was in the budget already. This is not in addition to the budget. Thank you. Any other commission questions?
Commissioner Colwell.
Is any of this money used for damage to sidewalks people drive?
Is your mic on?
I'm sorry.
Is any money being used for cement for damage on sidewalks from people that cross on the rights?
It certainly could be, and if you can identify people who are damaging our public way, we'll work with code as well as the sheriff's office in which to try to recoup that on behalf of the city. This is more generally driven if Deltona Water is doing a water main replacement and they've replaced a driveway, a sidewalk, stormwater is doing something is predominantly what this is being set up for.
All right, thank you.
I move to approve the contract with Mashmeyer Concrete for as-needed concrete work citywide, an initial amount of $57,500. The city manager has the authority to make corrections of Scrivener errors and the like.
Motion by Vice Mayor Bradford. There's a second, Commissioner Julie. Commissioner Burbank? Oh, Commissioner. Motion passes 6-0. The next, we're going to go to contract request for approval to expend no more than $40,000 per household in Florida Housing Financial Corporation State House Initiative Partnership. Ms. Angelia Briggs. Can you talk a little closer to the mic, please?
You turn it on. Good evening, Angela Briggs, Community Development Manager. Staff approved a contract for the property located at 1731 Oasis. The contract was in the amount of $4,650. That contract included the roof, HVAC, electrical work, and several doors. During the construction, the contractor discovered some additional electrical work, and the additional electrical work totaled $950, which exceeded the $25,000 cap for purchase orders. So staff is asking that you approve the additional $950 for the additional work.
Vice Mayor Bradford and then Commissioner Jody.
Okay, so what was the original total for? Because this is saying 40,000.
It's up to 40,000, and that's what we normally do when we come into the commission, ask for up to 40,000, unless contract, which we finish that, there's nothing else wrong with the house, and so you were to come and say, oh, something happened, and maybe fire got a wall or something like that, there shouldn't be any additional costs.
Okay, so right now we're at the 25,600, but we're asking for 40.
We're at 24,650.
We're at 24,600 with 90, right? So it'll be a 25,600. And is that the last thing they need to do on that property?
That is the last thing that we're supposed to do on that property.
So if I made a motion to approve it not to exceed 30,000, is that going to hurt you?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I hereby move to direct staff to move forward with owner-occupied rehabilitation project for the property located at 1731 Essex Avenue for $40,000 for $20,600. The property's expenditures will not exceed $40,000. This property would utilize Florida Housing Finance Corporation SHIP funds. I can never say that.
Okay, please.
I'm sorry, do you want it to be not to exceed 40,000 or 30,000?
Not to exceed 30,000.
Or is there?
We've been told that they are looking at other sites. They're working with the railroad, looking at a couple more places, but right now we did make contact and they still wanted us to do this resolution in opposition to them building that fuel tank farm.
One of those sites is not here in Deltona, is it?
No, no, sir.
Okay.
You can add Deltona to that, though.
Yeah. So
Because I hate for them to, oh, look, Deltona's right there.
Yeah, I think the idea is more along the coast over there because of the shipment of the fuel. I think that's more where they're looking at doing something.
We have property right there by a specific movie theater that's close to I-4. I'm just saying, I don't want that to come to Deltona.
No, it wouldn't come here.
Okay. Commissioner Jody Lee.
I want to make a motion to approve this resolution 2023-55 and add Deltona in the
Second.
proposition.
There's a motion by Commissioner Jody Lee and a second by Vice Mayor Bradford with an amendment. Vice Mayor, you're still on the board, or are you okay with voting?
That's exactly
Okay.
what I was going to say.
Can we vote, please? Motion passes 5-0.
He said, when you say anything else, I said, no, but I definitely don't say, I was thinking like Jody.
We're going to move to request approval of resolution 2023-54 and budget amendment to increase the aid to provide organizations account to fund the Halifax Urban Ministries Barracks of Hope construction project for the fiscal year 2023-2024 at a cost of $25,000. Mary.
Okay, at the October 2nd regular commission meeting, the commission approved an increase in funding to, the account is called the Aid to Private Organizations account, and this is in support of the Halifax Urban Ministries Barracks of Hope construction project. A budget amendment and resolution has been prepared, $25,000, and the source of funds is general fund.
So I'd like to ask you, you already mentioned what fund it's coming out of, right?
It's coming out of general fund.
Okay.
That is city commission budget, which is 8 private organizations, and there was comment whether they were vetted or not. Typically, what we've done at the city of Deltona is the commission has voted for a line item for the commission to fund certain projects that are important to commission. And typically one of them is the Council on Aging is a project that has been funded typically every year. So this is different than the CDBG money, which is federal money, and that follows federal regulations. So the vetting process for SHIP, the state, and the federal government are completely different than the commission deciding projects that they choose to fund. I just want to make that clear.
And for clarification, City Attorney Marcia, I believe I received a text message from a resident, and I asked you specifically if during a regular commission meeting we could have done what we did, and you said that we could because it was a regular commission meeting, correct? About voting in a presentation, as long as there was public comment that was requested? I mean, if you don't feel like you want to answer that, don't. I prefer you just say, I don't remember, than giving me faces.
I'm not giving you faces.
You're looking at me like I'm crazy.
I don't remember that.
Okay, that's all you need to say, Ms. Siegel. Thank you very much. Vice Mayor Bradford, then Commissioner Jody Lee.
I have to say I'm sorry. I take responsibility for my vote, got excited, it was a great cause. We did have a lot of veterans in here. We probably should have made a motion to have it put on the agenda. Instead, I think we all got a little overwhelmed and excited. What I would like to see for the future, do they qualify for CDBG funding? So as not-for-profit, and I think Angela left, right? As a not-for-profit, part of what we require when we go through, like we have Hands of Hope, we have the Coalition, they all apply to us.
Correct.
Now, being this is a funds that are helping to house our veterans as well for housing, would they qualify to apply for the CDBG?
Yes, and I used to work in that program.
And that's probably what we should have told them, right?
Right, and they can, but for their public service is the strategy. They're limited to 15% of our allocation that we get from CDBG, which is normally around $500,000. So that doesn't really equate to that much money. It's usually around $90,000 or so. but that is what they were referring to. That's a competitive process.
Right.
And those are guidelines that are set by the federal government. They have to fill out an application. They have to provide a lot of documentation to prove they are 501c3 usually. And then what happens, I mean, the commission has done this process in the past. Staff has, independent people have also ranked them. They go through the applications, they rank them, and they allocate the funds that way. So I think Barracks Hope would probably be an organization that could competitively, apply for that. But what I was trying to say is, in the past,
We can still do
there
it,
is-
but
you
we
can
need to do it right next year.
Right. Well, there isn't the same level of scrutiny for aid to private organizations, which is done at the pleasure of the commission. I was just trying to make that distinction.
Yeah, no, I understand, but as you were speaking, it just came to my thinking back to where I've had people before, and we said, hey, you would fall under XYZ,
right.
And I think at this one, we've almost pretty much guaranteed them now, but is there a way we can make sure that we reach out to them, let them know that we do have a CDBG process that I would like to see them apply for and go through the same process that we have all these other groups and organizations that we are giving money to right now.
Right.
I do think it's fair. I think what they're doing is amazing. I don't want anybody to take that away from saying. I think what they've done is amazing. I think our veterans need the assistance. Like I said, I personally myself got caught up in the moment and probably should have said maybe taken a step back and said, what's the actual procedure for this? Because I mean, obviously puts a little more on you too, going, okay, where's this coming from? How am I going to do this? And those are questions that, not fair to you. So I do apologize for that.
That's okay. And here's the budget is a living, breathing document. It's just plan. It can be changed throughout the year. That's why the charter allows us to come before you and say, here's an opportunity to amend the budget because priorities change, emergencies happen, unforeseen things happen. So that's the purpose of coming to you with a resolution and amendment.
CDBGs are done for the year, but definitely let's reach out to them.
Yeah, it's usually around the spring, February or so when we get the funding that the application's open.
Yeah, I think.
And I believe this is a one-time ask.
I kind of got the impression, yes, I don't think this is going to be a one-time ask. Something tells me that this is going to be an annual ask because they were saying that they need funds to keep facility going. And we're looking for, the way I took it was maybe ongoing. I took it, this was a one-time ask, but I think they're going to need it ongoing. So that's why I'm saying we get staff to explain to them the process for future funding, that you can't come before the commission and ask for $5,000.
Correct.
Thank you. Commissioner Jody Lee.
Yeah, so this money right here, this is just taxpayer money that we're giving away, right?
Yes.
That's what it is, just taxpayer money.
Jet fund.
Tomorrow.
In a number of different sources.
Right,
Some are from state, some are ad valorem. We have we have a number of different sources of
the
revenue.
thing is, I know I wasn't here for this vote. It was on the second. I was driving home, so I wasn't here. But we have Angela Briggs and Scott McGregory that works. He does grants. I mean, if this is for military, there's billions of dollars for grants for military for all kinds of different projects. So I'm just saying, if, I don't know, Mr. Davison back there decides to come tomorrow and say, starting this fund to help some veterans, I need $5,000. I guess are we going to give it to him tomorrow?
No,
I know, but the problem is we haven't given him yet. We haven't given it to him yet. I'm not totally against it, but we have to, what kind of precedents are we setting? I think we've had a conversation before about telling people because we set precedents. Everybody's going to ask us for money. We're just talking about, we didn't increase stormwater, we didn't increase this because we don't have the money. We're not doing this because we don't have the money. We're not raising this, fixing the road because we don't have the money. We're doing this, but then at the same time, we're turning around and say, hey, here's 25 grand. You see it, we're constantly say we don't have the money, but we have no problem giving it away to everybody. I'm just, Mr. Gregory, if anybody hasn't talked, that works downstairs in Angela Briggs, that's all that guy does is grants. I mean, he came from St. Louis. He does grants. He knows how to write them. He follows them. He chases them. He's the only person that we have, I believe, in this city that writes grants.
There's someone upstairs that worked there, and they write grants. They haven't wrote a grant. They gave a big presentation to the city. They write grants. They haven't wrote a single grant since they've been in the city. They haven't brought $1 that's in our current bank account.
Commissioner Jody Lee.
There's not a current.
Let's not use this platform to attack staff. That is not true.
I'm talking overall.
No, we have an issue with staff right now, and a lot of them feel a lot of pressure from this dais, and we have really good staff. And I don't, if
I can, excuse me,
go ahead.
Let me, I didn't mean, I'm not trying to direct, but I'm saying, if you check into it, there's not a single dollar in our city bank account that has been brought in through this one department. And I have, there's billions of dollars of grants we can get, and nobody's chasing it. Every other city out there has got people chasing grants. We don't. But yet we give out, and I'm not saying no to the veterans. What I'm saying is everybody chases grants except for us. We're the only city that don't chase grants. It baffles my brain. 100,000 people and we don't chase grants. But yet we're quick to spend the money, give the money away, tell people that we've got to raise your taxes, we got to raise stormwater rates, we got to raise trash, we got to do all, we got to buy trucks, we got to buy a city manager a new Chevy Tahoe, we got to do all this stuff. Not you, Glenn, you ain't getting one, don't ask. So we do all this stuff, but yet at the same time, we have raised, we don't have no money, but hey, here's 25 grand. I mean, nobody ever wants to say it bluntly. We're quick to, well, in the past, we're quick to raise taxes on somebody. We're quick to say yes to developers. Are we quick to save money anyway? I mean, I shall hear crickets on that one. Just saying.
Vice Mayor Bradford.
I move to approve Resolution 2023-54, budget amendment to increase the aid to private organization account to fund for the Halifax Urban Ministry Rocks of Hope construction project for the first year, 2023-2024, at a cost of $25,000. The interim city manager has the authority to make corrections of certain errors and the like.
I want to say on a change that it's only 1 year.
That's what it says.
As long as it's only 1 year.
There's a motion by Vice Mayor Bradford and a second by Commissioner Jody Lee. The motion passes for 1. And for the record, Commissioner Avila Vasquez isn't feeling well, and she asked to be excused. Going to go ahead and move to request approval of task authorization with Kimley Horn for the design, permitting, and pre-construction bidding services for a test/production potable well at the Hall Road property adjacent to the Eastern Water Reclamation Facility. Ms. Wallace.
Phyllis Wallace, Public Works. This is a request for task authorization with Lee Horn, who's a continuing service contractor for the city of Daytona. We've done RFPs on them, and they've been pre-qualified to look at extending our water wells out to the Keel Hall property, which those of you that don't know where that is, it's off of 11th, Eastern Plant, off to the side. This effort will also help us. As we know, we are closing down the B project, so we need to find alternative projects. If the wells turn out to be a positive opportunity for the city, can use that as in part a replacement towards the 4B project.
Also, Mayor, if I may jump in real quick, sorry. This project will also pull wells that we're withdrawing groundwater now in the Blue Spring shed area. This is a way of moving out there to, to reduce the groundwater withdrawal in that spring shed. And this is just a test well to see what water we can get out of there. This is designing and permitting for that. If it works out and we can put a well field there, this is next to the Eastern Wastewater Plant, we'll be able to look at building a water treatment facility there also to be able to help with supply our demand with growth.
Vice Mayor Bradford, then Commissioner Jody Lee.
Budget item. This was a budget item?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I always like to ask that question. So I move to approve and authorize the task authorization with Kimley Horn for the design, permitting, and pre-construction bidding services for a test production portable well at the Kale Hall Road property in an amount not to exceed $180,000 the city manager has the authority to make corrections of Scrivener errors and the like.
Motion by Vice Bradford. Second by Commissioner Burbank. And then we have Commissioner Daly on the board, and then from there we'll vote.
Thank you. This is just that property. I asked about making an animal shelter before, didn't I?
Yes, sir.
There's a wells that's a property. I know there's several of them.
There's a well for the house.
Well, there's a well for the house, but there's others.
Right, not the wells.
Yeah, I get it. But okay, but yeah, I understand. I'm all for getting more water from over there. It's that's it. Just making sure same property. Well, thank you.
Motion passes 5-0. Good. Section G, request approval of resolution number 2023-56. And just for the record, there is a typo on the budget, so that typo has been corrected. Budget amendment and the task authorization between the City of Deltona and Pegasus Engineering for grant application, development, and submittal amount not to exceed $103,150. Ms. Wallace.
Yes. Thank you. You may recall several months ago, we came back with a request qualifications for Pegasus and I forget another firm, I apologize, to pre-qualify them to meet all the standards for the Division of Emergency Management to help us with applications through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. This is the next step in that, and they have submitted 4 proposals. One is for an elevation of a single-family home. Another one is an elevation for an additional 6 homes. And the reason the 6 ones are bundled up is we have to have a positive benefit analysis, and we believe by bundling them, we have a more likelihood of receiving that on those particular homes. Another one is on Blackburn. I believe they want to have a total rebuild of their house. And then the final one is to replace the generator here at City Hall that does not fully provide power if we out of power here at City Hall. And for those of you that are here during a hurricane, if you're not sitting here and you're over there, it gets really, really hot when we don't have air conditioning. So we felt it was a good opportunity for us to make application to see if we get this grant. Hazard mitigation grants are a 75-25 split, which means 75% is paid by the federal government through the state of Florida, and the receiving entity, which would be the City of Deltona or the individuals, pay the difference of the 25%.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Commissioner Jody Lee.
This is something you brought to us already before, and this money, the $103,000, this is something that you were already, you knew ahead of time that's what it was going to cost us?
I knew that we had task authorizations out there, and there was a misstep, and we did not budget this amount, so that's why we're coming back now. It was a mistake.
What was the misstep?
Misstep is a staff member failed to put it in the budget.
So a $103,000 mistake we're on the hook for. And so a staff member made a mistake. Is there, no offense to anybody, but $103,000 for a mistake, and I'm not trying to be mad at you, but $103,000 mistake, that's not one that most people would make, and most likely still have a job.
I can't speak to whether they would have a job or not. This was a new staff member who was not as familiar with our budget process as maybe we could have helped her be. But Pegasus is working on behalf of the city, and I want to bring this forward to get this hopefully presented to you for your consideration.
Why would a staff member not familiar with our budget process be able to get us on a hook for $103,000? Who would allow something like that? Why would be allowed, and why would we be on a hook for $103 for someone else's mess up? Because that's his money, and whoever else lives in the city, that's $103,000 we're on the hook for because somebody, oops.
Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, Mr.
It's not what the issue is it wasn't in the budget. It's this is required for us to go through with those grants for the HMPG grants. It was not put in the budget, but it's not. We're on the hook for it because we are trying to get these grants. It's not necessarily anybody's fault. We're just trying to get these grants.
So we're going to get 75% of that.
Yes, 75% match. The city would have to pay 25, but I want to make clear on the elevation ones, the city doesn't pay for that. That's up to the homeowner to pay that 25%.
Right, but on this other one, we still have to dish up $103,000 up front.
Yeah, sir, and that's for the consultant fee to get these grants pushed through.
So does the government give us back the $103,000 consulting fee?
75%.
They give us 75% of consulting fee. But my issue is, because I know a little bit more to this, but I'm not trying to push it all out there. The person that went after this, did they have approval from the city manager to make all this deal and get this all done first?
Yeah, with the previous management, it started out, let me just start over. Last year, after the hurricanes, actually between the two hurricanes, Ian and Nicole, we were asked to put forth a list of projects, which we brought forth to the committee. We went to the delegation in DeLand with Representative Barnaby and Senator Wright, and there was a few others there. I can't recall the names right off the top of my head. But we went and we presented this list. Mr. Chisholm was the city manager at the time, acting city manager. Went with him along with the lobbyist. I believe Commissioner Vasquez was also there. And these projects were presented to them. It was presented to the state in writing as when we got started. It went back and forth a few times. We had to provide information. A lot of us worked in hours through those months, as you all well know. Y'all saw us. So that's kind of how it comes about. Then you have to have something in place to be able to secure his grant, and that's what consultant has been doing. We've been working with him since last year to do this.
One final question. In the last 9 weeks, 10 weeks you've been in it, have you had these conversations about this money with this one employee?
We have talked about the process that you have to go through, which is budgeting, and I talked about this months ago, that we have to go through that process.
Since you've been acting city manager, has this employee came to you and discussed this $103,000?
No, Ms. Wallace created the agenda memo because we needed to make sure we kept moving forward with these projects.
I'm good.
We're going to go to Vice Mayor Bradford and Commissioner Colwell.
I'm just going to say, you guys have said you're taking measures to assure that the problem is not going to happen again.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. These are funds that we will be getting 75% back of very necessary funds. I don't expect everybody to be perfect, but I do ask that we just figure out what can we do to correct it and put policies and procedures in effect so that it doesn't happen again. When we do that, that's we correct errors. If something, they say when something continues to happen over and over, and it's insanity, but we are all human. So I move to approve resolution number 2024-004, budget amendment and the task authorization between the City of Daytona and Pegasus Engineering for grant application development and submittal at an amount not to exceed $103,155. The city manager has the authority to make corrections of Scribner errors and the like.
I second it, but I have a question.
I'll get to your question right now. There's a motion by Vice Mayor Bradford, second by Commissioner Caldwell, and Mr. Caldwell, you're on the board.
Phyllis, when they give us a report from Pegasus on these properties that need to be raised, do they reflect what it'll do to the surrounding properties, the adjacent properties? Or is the elevation just to get that house out of flooding?
These elevations will actually be taking them above grade.
Above grade.
For lack of a better description, I'm going to call it, they'll be stilt homes, if you will, and they will be out of the flood zone, yes, sir.
So they will be off the...
Can we please...
Can you amend your motion? The resolution number should be 2023-56. The number that's there is the budget amendment number. It is not the resolution
Okay,
number.
so I want to amend my motion to 2023-56. Thank you. Do you approve this amendment?
Yes, Commissioner Caldwell.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Motion passes 5-0. This time, we're going to go to City Commission special reports and requests, and I'll go down the line. I'll start with Commissioner Burbank, special reports or requests.
A special report, we now have a sidewalk from the entrance to Keysville Dog Park down to where we all sit and gather. So thank God for concrete, and thank God for Public Works and Parks and Rec getting that done for us. Special request, I am in agreement with all of the people that come here and say we need to televise the public comment portion of meetings. I have utilized that service myself through a number of organizations I've been associated with through the years. I've come here to promote the YMCA, to introduce entity to the city. So if we can make that happen, I'd be pleased. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Caldwell.
I think it's said enough, right?
Okay. Commissioner Jody Lee.
No reports, I got comments coming up.
Okay. Vice Mayor Bradford.
I would like a request to get we have the rental ordinance, and we see the rental ordinance brought back minus all the extravagant charges that were in there. Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry. We definitely need a rental ordinance. We need a rental ordinance so that property owners are documented, so that when something happens on that property, a note is not just left on that rental property, because 9 times out of 10, that sticky note's going into the trash and the homeowner does not know about it. And that was the main objective of the last rental ordinance that we had requested, and what came to us was more of a fee generating, money making, and you know, I'd like just to see it so that it's actually utilized, so that code has a resource and your staff has a resource, so if something happens, we have a means to notify the property owner. That's what I was hoping to see on that. So I'd like to see if we can have consensus to bring that back before us, minus the elaborate fees.
Yes, but shouldn't we have a cost associated with it to cover our fees?
Well, we can have a cost associated, but I think they were talking like a couple $100s a property.
Do you want to have a workshop on it?
So if we can have a workshop on it, that's great. But the one that was brought back was like, it was above and beyond. So like you registered every property, and I think it was going to be like a couple $100s per property. And staff had even said, it's not going to take that much to put it in the registry.
Okay, so we have consensus for the Vice Mayor to have brought back up. Commissioner Burbank. Yes, you have consensus.
Thank you.
Okay, just to let you know, I wasn't involved in that, so it's going to take me a little research just
That's
to let
fine,
you know.
and I
We'll come back
expected
at a
to.
workshop after the first of the year, because we got a few things for the city manager search and all that stuff we're trying to get.
I think we actually had one together, and we actually went through 2 workshops, but I don't think this commission was part of it. So maybe after the first year, we can bring it back where the commission is, you know, able to sit down and have a workshop and put their input into it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, as long as it gets through faster than it should.
Question, and I'm trying to sort through, sorry, guys, what is part of this one and next one. Do we have Deltona TV anymore? Are we broadcasting on our Deltona TV? Like, why? I guess this is new to me because I don't really watch.
We do.
You know, right. So we still have Deltona TV. So why are individuals saying they have to register with YouTube in order to watch DTV?
There's, I can tell you some of that.
Catherine, can we have Catherine come up for a minute? Her and I had a little bit of this conversation today.
There's like 4 different ways to watch it.
Well, because I just want to make it like it was always people went to Deltona TV, YouTube. Obviously, we have a lot of people live streaming there. So I'm just curious on why people are like, oh, I have to register with YouTube. And if there's ways we can educate them, then let's do it.
You don't have to register. You don't have to register. You go there. You can go there and watch it. You can watch it on the city's Facebook page. You can go to the website and watch it through the website. You can watch it on Spectrum Television. So there's just more ways in which to watch it now. But you don't have to subscribe to YouTube to watch Deltona TV.
Is it still broadcast live, or are we not broadcast?
No, it's broadcasted live.
Spectrum.
Yes.
So what channel is that for everybody who's watching and confused?
491.
Okay, so that hasn't changed. So it's always been, to my knowledge, Spectrum 491. And so as of the people who are saying like, hey, last I looked at it and it was like all squigglies and lines and it wasn't there.
I cannot speak to that. I can tell you that we looked at the feed, the actual feed that goes out from here to the different sources, and it was perfectly fine. So I can't speak to someone's cable service or their Wi-Fi signal or their internet speeds, but I can tell you the signal that was coming out from here, the audio was great, the picture was great, there was no issue.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to get clarification because it seems like there's been a whole lot of conversation about us not wanting people to watch it, and I just want to make sure people are educated on the best way, the easiest way. Is it live? Is it not live? Because I'm like, I didn't know these changes took place, so.
No, it's live. We just updated. It's in HD now, except for the Spectrum feed is still SD, and it will always be SD. But, you know, we made some improvements. We got better cameras.
Okay.
Ma'am, I know there was an issue with Granicus. I believe it was the last meeting, and they got that solved right after they saw that Joyce saw there was an issue. They got that solved.
Yeah, as soon as Joyce made us aware there was something that wasn't flipped back there, was pumping out color bars instead of the video feed. So we're well aware of that now. So we just make certain that doesn't happen again.
Okay. And we always have done this, and it's always been a frustration. Thank you very much. The $25,000 or more spent. It has always been anything, a penny over $20,000 comes back to the commission. And I think it is important. It does show transparency. One of the things, like I had said during budget time, is, hey, listen, we're going to approve this, but, you know, 90% of these things come back to us anyway for reapproval. And it does, we understand why it's in consent. So can we explain why these items are in consent? Do they have to be in consent? Can they be pulled out of consent and presented to us another way?
You know, Joyce, go ahead. Sorry.
So the items are put on consent. There is a guideline for that. It does vary based on the city managers. I'll tell you, when I first got here, it was $50,000. Anything over that, it wasn't on consent. And then it's kind of morphed depending on the commission, depending on the city manager. We can do whatever you want. The thought process is it's on consent. It doesn't mean it stays on consent. You guys pull stuff all the time that's on consent. Back in the day, I don't know if you still do it now, but each commissioner would also speak to the city manager and get educated on whatever the item is, pull staff in to also discuss what the item is, so if you were good with it, you would leave it on consent. Anything that was contentious doesn't usually go on consent. If we know about it ahead of time that it's going to be contentious, meaning one or more of you have an issue with it, so it's really up to you guys.
Yeah, so I guess it's a question for us up here. Do you want to keep items of budget and finances on consent, or do you guys want to have them do it separate?
I had it on my list of if it's over $25,000, we could have just done this from the very beginning.
I just assume talk about stuff, because just this whole thing of pushing things through and making one vote on all kinds of stuff is crazy.
We can do it however you like to do it. It's, you know, but the idea was stuff that shouldn't be contentious. If you see something when the consent agenda comes up, then you pull it. But if you want to go that way, we can list everything. We bring anything 25,000 or over to you as it is. So if you want to list them all separate, and that's fine, whatever y'all like to do.
I'm okay either way, because if I see something, I'm going to pull it. If I see something I don't like, I'm going to pull it.
Yep.
I know out in the audience, if somebody sees something out there, they're going to be at the dais letting us know that there's a problem. And then usually, hopefully at that point, you know, we pull it and discuss it as well. So, I mean, I don't have a problem. I'm bringing it up because it was brought up, and I want to know what the will of the rest of the commission is.
Well, also, if I may again, also, you have public comment before the consent agenda. So a lot of times the public will get up and bring up something, and you typically pull it anyway because you have questions. They may have raised questions in public comment. So also, that's you know, whatever you'd like to do.
I say leave it the way it is, and we just pull it as the time comes.
I'm with Commissioner Bradford on this.
Microphone. Microphone.
I'm with Commissioner Bradford on this. I like the consent agenda as is. We can pull things off, and it does streamline things, which was the purpose of it in the place.
And I don't think anything that's not on budget, that's why I've been asking, so people can see we have a pattern, is not on budget. I think it should be on consent agenda at all. That should be a separate. We know straight from the get, it's not in the budget. So I'm looking at this going, hey, these are items that are in the budget. It's already been approved, minimal discussion on it, if any, whereas something that's totally separate, like, whoa, hold up, this isn't on, let's talk about it.
So if we can do it like that, then that would be fine, but we had one today that wasn't on the budget and was on consent.
It was in consent, right,
Yeah.
that's what I was kind of concerned about.
25,000 and above that have not been in the budget needs to not be in consent.
So anything that has a budget amendment, we can do it separate from the consent
Yeah,
agenda.
I would say anything that is not budget, because you can get something for $24,900, and I know we did have a previous city manager who put 24,000 through to get things through to equal 100, so.
You're not going to see me do that.
I know you're not. No, and it was not our current city manager. But yeah, so you know what but it's not you I worry about. It's who's after you and who's after them and who's after them. So I'm just trying to set it. So I'm okay with consent agenda as long as it has been approved by budget and under 25,000, so.
I'm good with that. You guys good with that?
So I don't know what you need for that, if you need the rest consensus or what, and the rest I can save if there's more.
Okay. So the only other thing I have is, I know I kind of briefly brought this up, to try to figure out what we can do about it, but I really had no issue with the way we used to have our public comment, which is right after presentations and awards, in case, certain residents that like to get colorful would do that after our kids would leave, and right now that's not what's happening. So I don't believe anybody on this dais, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe anybody on this dais requested that change. So I mean, I'm just one person. If everybody would be okay with bringing it back to after presentations and awards, I'm happy with that. Plus, we don't have to be here at 6. We can be here at 6:30 like normal.
Well, I would say if we're concerned about colorful conversation, then maybe we have it after the invocation. We still sign in, we still say the prayer, the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance, and have public comment, but your meeting's actually started, you're recording, you're doing that. I don't have a problem with that. And then you can do your presentations and awards after that. So I don't mind the sequence, because I was trying to think of keeping the young ears out of here.
So that's why you do public comments
So you can
after
do
the
it.
presentation.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
As long as you don't get somebody being colorful before.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
Okay, so you want to do,
have it the way we used to have
Okay.
it before it was changed.
and what time are we starting the meeting, 6 or 6:30?
6:30 is what we were, what time were we starting, Ms. Radford?
Do people have a problem with 6 o'clock?
Some people can't get here. I've heard Albert's wife a few times, she has issues getting here at 6 o'clock. People, well, what happens if no people don't want to miss it? Some people, I don't, whatever I want to do is majority.
As long as you approve my 25,000, I'll miss it.
So I think we should stay at 6:30. We can try it, and then if residents have an issue, we can move back to 6. But I think the biggest issue we have here is the public comment situation.
No, I was just thinking of time-wise, because that would put us at 10 o'clock tonight already.
Okay, so, we need a quick motion to extend
I'll
our,
make a motion to extend for 30 minutes.
okay. So motion by Commissioner Jody Lee, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Caldwell?
Yeah, no, Caldwell.
Yes? Okay. That's all I had. So we're going to go ahead and move to city attorney comments, city manager comments.
You know it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I was trying to find the page.
Yes.
Just wanted to remind everybody, since we're getting close to Halloween, our Spooktacular event's coming up on Saturday, October the 28th at 6 p.m. at Dewey Booster Park. One of the things, too, as we start looking at the children out trick-or-treating, we have to be mindful of our children out on the roads at night and pulling off the roads on swells, et cetera. You know, last year we had the hurricanes and we had a lot of debris. We don't have that debris this year, but we do have wet swells where if you pull off the road, possibly could sink down. So just everybody be mindful of all that. This week on Wednesday, the 18th at 6 p.m., we have an event, Pray for Peace event here at City Hall, the City Commission Chambers. And then on Thursday, November the 1st, we have a special commission meeting to score and rank the search firms that we went out for our RFP. And that's all I have.
How many firms?
We got 4.
What date is that?
November the 1st.
Thank you. All right, so thank you, Mr. Whitcomb. We're going to go ahead and go to commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Burbank. Any comments? No comments? Commissioner Cole? Commissioner Jody Lee?
Okay, I got a couple things. I'll try to make it short and sweet. Probably not, but, okay. Well, I've heard some different things about city employees saying it's a little hostile work environment and stuff like that. And if I make somebody feel like it's a hostile work environment for the city, I'm so sorry. But not really. Because if it feels a hostile work environment, the people I only say things to or think that I don't get along with them are usually people that I don't think are doing their job. If people are doing their job in the city, I don't have a problem with them. I laugh with them all and joke with them all and have a good time. And the next note is, there was some things that came up not too long ago that I was asking for monetary bribes. I'm going to ask every developer that comes to this city for money. I will. I'm going to do it every single time. But it's not money from my pocket. I ask them to donate to the schools, to the seniors, to the veterans, to projects in the city. I don't say donate it through me. Donate to these. There was 3 people's names that were brought up last week and a half ago that said that I said that I was asking for monetary bribes. And last week I've talked to all 3 of these individuals. They emphatically said that's BS. They never said nothing like that. But that's another thing that's coming pretty soon too. But I will ask developers to invest in our city. I don't care. They should. Schools, sports teams, elderly, seniors, you're going to make millions of dollars off us. You can actually act like you're invested in our city. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I've had conversations with the city attorney. I've had conversations with all kinds of different people, with planning, with zoning, with all kinds of stuff about seeing if we can get them to invest in our city, to show that they're here just not to make a dollar off our back, so they're invested to do something for our residents. Seniors. All of them. So I'm going to keep doing that all the time. I'm concerned about the city. I'm concerned about stuff that's gone on lately. I'm concerned about a lot of, I believe, just flat out garbage that's been going on. But I'm good with it. I mean, people want to say all kinds of stuff. If you're going to say stuff about me, you're going to attack me, I'm going to bite back. And when I do bite back, I'm pretty good at it. I will ask developers to pitch in for our city. Everybody. I'm going to make sure residents do their job. I got elected to do what's right for the people, not to make myself get more money, have a better bank account. I could care less the money I get here. I could care less if anybody wants to call me. I'll start donating it. It's $300 a month or every 2 weeks. It's not going to make me eat, in my front yard on a picnic table every day and make me go broke. It ain't going to. Tom, shut up. But, there are a lot of garbage been put out. And if anybody has a problem with it, they should come up and talk to me, and we can have a lot more conversations. It's more than obvious than people think. We can have a lot more conversations without breaking a sunshine law, because we need to work on things. If you have an idea or something you'd like to see in the future, that's something we can all talk about. It's not about, hey, I want to vote on this. That's not what I'm talking about. If I'd like to see something in the future in our city, we can say that to each other. We can say things. Hey, I'm going to vote on this tonight. That's a different story. That's sunshine.
But to discuss what we want for our future in our city, these are things ideas that we all should know about so we can work towards this together. Not one person, "Ooh, I gotcha." Yeah, I know. Well, according to the whole thing, there was supposed to be 2 or 3 or 4 of us removed from the dais because of this meeting. That didn't happen. But we need to work together. I'm not going to have animosity towards all of it. I'm not. I think you're doing a fairly decent job, Mayor. I think the rest of us want to do what's right in the city, too. But if somebody's going to land-base me and lie, I'm going to return. I'm going to return in kind, probably tenfold. If someone wants to sit there and be condescending to me, I'm going to return tenfold. I want to get along. I want what's right for our city. But if people want to attack me, be careful. Because you know what they say? If you mess with the bull, yeah, you get the horns. So y'all can take that and do whatever. Y'all have a good night.
Vice Mayor Bradford.
Couple exciting items coming up. Don't forget our Halloween. As our wonderful acting city manager said, we need to be very cautious, watch for our little spooktacular kids. They tend to go in areas sometimes and step in the road and maybe a little bit excited about all the candy they're getting and not paying attention, so that means we just have to pay extra special attention to them. October 28th at Dewey O'Boster, we will have our spooktacular from 5 to 10. There's treats, haunted trails, hay rides, and more. Woo woo! Costume contest, come on out. I heard Superwoman's going to be there. We have domestic violence Community Awareness Night for West Volusia, October 25th at the center of Deltona. We are saying everybody come out. It's Purple Night. If you have purple bulbs, purple lights, turn them on in support of domestic violence awareness. On another thought, I cannot believe I'm saying this. Thanksgiving is right around the corner. OMG. Right? I didn't say Christmas. So the question is, are we working towards having our turkey giveaway? Can we start that now? I know that's one of those things that we, kind of need to get charities to help us out. So where are we at with our turkey giveaway? We getting turkeys? Gobble, gobble?
Yes, we can work on that. I will work with Mr. Manning and get that moving.
Okay. I think the community greatly appreciates our turkey drives when we have them. And, I don't know if we could go, I don't want to push it, but I got to. So can we go any further and have like a donation box or something that people can, or bags, people can maybe donate some canned goods, maybe a box of stuffing, maybe something to go with a turkey dinner for the ones in need? I mean, is that pushing it? Is it?
I'm all for it.
I think we could do something like that here at City Hall.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I mean, because we
because-
get the turkeys away here, right?
Well, no, they did it at the park last year.
You did it at Dewey Boster last year, but can we do like something? Because we have, the reason I'm saying that is we do have a couple of food boxes and they go through food pretty quick. There's a lot of families and we do have a lot of wonderful groups that do help and give out some, but I can see where maybe Amazon, Publix, Winn-Dixie, I mean, if they could help us just something more than just that turkey that they can have, can we do something?
I had asked Publix if they would give us cloth bags with the turkeys, so people could have reusable bags when they take the turkeys home, just as a thought.
That's great. Can we get them food to go with the turkey? Stuffing, green beans, potatoes, something. I mean, I don't know if I know it's a lot to ask. I mean, if there's anything that can be done, or if we can just have an area where people can donate. Just a thought. There's a lot of people in need.
Well, I would think, this is just me, the old guy here. I would think In my mind, Christmas would be more important for food. I know any time's important, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say any time is a good time.
But I think Christmas would give us a little more time. We can do the turkey giveaway certainly for Thanksgiving.
Okay, I'm good
But
with
maybe
that.
for Christmas time, we can do a food drive. That gives us more time to get that together, if that would be the will of the commission.
We can always try to do both.
Well, and I don't know if our community garden is wanting, that may be something maybe they can get in on. So I don't know if that's something they would want to help out with as well. I mean, to have a place, or if you want to do it here, I'm just throwing some of our charitables out there that love to help the community. So, I mean, if we can, great. If not, I'm just throwing it out there. But yeah, I love the idea of Christmas, if you can put something together. And
Yeah, we could do that, and I believe last year, if I'm not mistaken, Commissioner Jody Lee assisted with that stuff with something. I don't remember if it was a truck or something.
Yeah, I can get a truck. I did that last year and the year before.
So
the
we could,
refrigerator truck, yeah.
yeah, because we're going to need something to keep them in.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
You good?
I'm good. I'm tired.
So I'm just going to address two things, right? In the spirit of coming together in unity. Number one, it is not the job of this commission to make employees or let them know if they're doing a good job or not. That's what the city manager is here for. He is the administrator of the city. I was ripped apart when I first started and was advised how I was doing a really bad job because I didn't understand how this worked. Awesome, great. It is not our job to go to city employees and tell them that they're doing a great job or they're doing a bad job or whatever it is that they're doing. That is the responsibility of the city manager. That's number one. Number two, I addressed this already 2 weeks ago, and I understand you were coming from your vacation, but I'm going to address it one more time again. If somebody comes up to me with an issue that seems extremely verifiable, I am going to report it, just like I expect every single one of you here to do the same on me. So making these threats about what I hear, don't hear, I can go down a whole list of stuff that I hear on a daily basis, screenshots that I see. I don't have time to babysit. I'm an adult. I don't have time to play childish games. We have more important things to deal with in this city than whether somebody thinks they are the mayor and they're not. Whether they're, whatever it is that they're thinking, we have people that are flooded. We have people that have issues because we don't have affordable housing in this city, and we're too busy trying to fight each other. You're saying you're not going to bring animosity. The first thing you did when you saw me after the state attorney investigation, you went right into that room, in a room full of city employees, and you started making comments. No, I'm not going to talk to you behind closed doors. That's simple. Is it a sunshine violation? Maybe not, but I think it's unethical. It's very, very simple. If you don't like the way it does, hey, I've talked, last time Chisholm was here, I brought it up to him several times. Hey, I want to talk about a vision for the city. As a matter of fact, I made it public in what was supposed to be some type of a budget meeting, and I said, well, let's bring that up so we can discuss it. And he said, oh, it's a great idea, and never came to fruition. So, you know what? Am I by the book? Look, I'm not pricked. But we need to stop the nonsense. Meeting's adjourned.
That's fine. That's very childish.